Good evening, everyone. I am Chris, and I'm here tonight to give my ranking, my tier list on all of the Disney animated classics. Now, I did a post earlier today saying that this was going to be part one of part two. It was going to be me and Dale, and we were going to be talking about the first 32 Disney animated classics tonight, because it was going to be a big video, you know, my tier list and his tier list. And then next week, we'd be covering the following 32, taking it to the full complete 64 films. Unfortunately, Dale's had to take a bit of a break tonight. He messaged me earlier. There's some stuff going on, and he's going to be taking a bit of a break, hopefully just for a week. But I still wanted to get some content out for you guys tonight. I still wanted to jump on a video, and I thought, well, I'll stick with the Disney tier list because that's what I announced, but I'm going to do my complete list tonight. So the full 64 films. And then when Dale's feeling up to it again at some point and he's back on the channel, we can schedule something where he can do his list as well, because I still do want to get his input on it as well. But yeah, my best wishes to him. Dale's just taking a bit of a break, hopefully just for this week. But he will be back. He will be back. But he just messaged me earlier saying that he just didn't really feel up to it tonight, and I'm going to respect that. But as I say, I didn't want to knock the video completely on the head tonight. So here we go. Let's get into the tier list then, because we've got a lot of films to talk about. I think this is actually the first tier list I've ever done on this channel. So this is all very new to me. So we're going to rank these together. We're going to talk a bit about each film before I rank it, where I place it. And then by the end of this thing, I'm probably going to shuffle things around some more anyway. So this is all of the Disney animated classics. What I've done is in a similar vein to what me and Dale did for our Disney retrospective. This list contains the classics from both the UK list and the US list. So you are going to see The Wild on this list from the UK one. You're going to see Disney's Dinosaur and the 2011 Winnie the Pooh movie from the US list for a complete rundown of everything. Bath Time says, do you know what your tier list is before you do it, or are you going to work it out as you go along? Good question. I'm going to work it out as I go along. Obviously, I know which ones are among my favorites. It's actually right from the first film. Let's jump into it now. So film number one, these are all in order, by the way, which is really great. All the way back at 1937, the film that started it all here with Snow White. Now, Snow White is such an inspirational film. It's an incredibly important film, and it is the foundation of every other film that you see before you on this list, and the company in general. It is, immensely important. Now, here's the thing. I can't, in good consciousness, rank this film anywhere below an S tier. I can't. I have to give this film an S tier. I feel like I'd be doing a disservice to myself and just desecrating Disney's memory if I didn't put this in S tier. But would I watch Snow White like every day of the week? Probably not. It's not one of my favorites to watch, but I do really respect that film and everything Disney went through to make it. So it's difficult juggling all of these different ideas of where I'm going to put these films, because there's the historical significance of the film itself and on the genre overall, which is what Snow White absolutely is. But then there's also that sense of what is my personal favorite. So you know what? I think we're going to have to put, right now at least, this could change by the end, Snow White is going in S tier. I feel if I saw it anywhere in these columns, then that wouldn't be right, would it, for Snow White? So we've got to open strong, I feel. The ranking of this, I've got S tier through to F tier. We're going to see what happens with this thing. I actually don't know what I'm going to put in F tier yet, because that is the bottom of the barrel, and I'm sure there'll be a few on this list as we go through it. Bath Time says, is there a single film for top tier, like the absolute GOAT, or are you going to chicken out and put loads in there? Here's what's going to happen. I'm just going to put loads in S tier at first, and then once I've got everything on the board, that's when we go in and edit and shuffle things around. And by the end of it, actually, that's a good idea, S tier. I think I know which film's already going to go in my S tier, to be honest. But we'll see. I might put a bunch in there. But if I'm going to have S tier being the tippy top, I already know which one's going to be there, I think, for that one. Okay, let's move on to the next movie then. So this was 1940 now, I think, wasn't it? Pinocchio. See, here's the thing. Out of Snow White and Pinocchio, I'd much rather watch Pinocchio. I enjoy that film. I gravitated towards it a lot more as a kid, and it's absolutely outstanding. But oh god, I can't put two straight in S tier, can I? Knowing which films I'm going to be putting in S tier later on, I'm going to put Pinocchio in A, because I do think the animation in that is absolutely flawless, and I love how dark it is as well. There's a lot of scary moments in there. There's a lot of fun songs, but you can really see how much the animation had come on even since Snow White, which is quite remarkable. And yeah, I've always gravitated towards Pinocchio. The songs have just lived in my head ever since I was a kid and watched it for the first time. Wonderful, colorful characters to it, intense action sequences, pure nightmare fuel with the kids turning into jackasses. So yeah, for right now, I'm going to put that in A tier. I think I really, really do enjoy that film. Bath Time says Black Cauldron. I know. We'll get to Black Cauldron. Don't worry. We'll get there. Bath Time says Pinocchio is a clear top tier entry. Yeah, that may be bumped up. We will see. Bearing in mind, a lot of these movies in S tier will move down to A tier by the end of the list. So for right now, I'm just going to stick with that, I think. Right, here we go. Yeah, Bath Time's already given his list. He says Fantasia, Dumbo, and Bambi all have to go straight into A tier, I think. Fantasia. This is where there's a dilemma again, because right now I'm thinking, as an animated film, it's absolutely remarkable, and a very, very ballsy idea to do a film like that as well, where it's so completely different from the previous two entries and a number of the entries in this classics list, where it's almost animation at its purest form, because it is just classical music and you're enjoying the wonderful, brilliantly animated images before your eyes that conjures the sense of this music. Really, really interesting idea, and it's one that Disney had a lot of faith in at the time. It got a lot of reissues, and it was, every so many years they'd bring it back at the cinemas and whatnot for a rescreening. But is it one that I would go back to all the time and watch among even the last two that I've got on the board, Pinocchio and Snow White? Would I watch it as often as that? Probably not. It's a bit of an intense sit. It's like 2 hours straight, isn't it? Very, very fundamentally different. But then again, the importance of that piece, I think I'm gonna have to put it into A tier. The like Sorcerer Mickey as well is such an iconic look for the brand and for Mickey's character. You've got Chernabog, who was a character that I always gravitated towards as a kid. I thought he was just an amazing design, a really cool design. And the ending of that film, where you do have that Night on Bald Mountain sequence that then goes into Ave Maria, is just outstanding. It was actually absolute joy going back to that film, to be honest, in the early days of that retrospective now, which would have been back in, oh my God, like late 2023 when we did that list. How time flies. Okay, then we get to Dumbo. So I love this movie as a kid. I still love it now. The music's great in there. A lot of people rag on this movie now, saying, oh, it's racist, it's this, it's that. The Name of the Crow aside, I really like it. I think the characters are like just wonderful. Leap off the screen. Very, very short though. Barely a feature. I think it's like 64 minutes-ish, isn't it? I've got the DVD right here. I can just check, can't I? 61 minutes. Wow, I overshot it by 3 minutes. I like it, but does it have the staying power of a Pinocchio or a Snow White Fantasia? I don't think it does. Right now, I think I'm going to put Dumbo in B. I need to sort of gauge where these F tiers, E tiers, and D tiers are going to be right now, because Dumbo could maybe drop to a C, and that's not to say that I hate Dumbo. I love Dumbo. I think it's great, but I just don't think story-wise it's quite there. It's a very, very simple film, and there's nothing wrong with that, but the animation quality is definitely done in a more simplistic style than the previous three films that I've already ranked. Bath Time disagrees with me. Bath Time says Dumbo should be A tier, but I'm not really a huge fan of it. It's legendary though, and that's got to count for something. No, it is. It's a wonderful design for the character. The animation's great, but it doesn't quite have that same level of quality as the previous three, I don't think, in terms of the animation. And that was intentionally so. They wanted to, I don't know whether it was a budget thing, especially around that time. I think, we're getting into the war at this point, aren't we? So yeah, I'm gonna leave it in B for now, but we could come back to it definitely. Oh, then this is the tough one, Bambi. Similar vein to Dumbo, it has that mother-son relationship, that mother and son theme to it with the tragedy. Probably more tragic in Bambi, though, actually, let's be fair, isn't it? I think this was one of Walt Disney's personal favorites. But Bath Time says Bambi is too sad, E tier. It reminds me of that skit in Animaniacs where he's like, Bambi's mom, she's... Is it like Skippy? What was his name? Slappy Squirrel and her nephew Skippy. That's a great moment in Animaniacs. It always reminds me of that. When I think of Bambi, I always think of the opening sequence with the multi-plane camera and that slow pan with the wonderful music through the forests, and the animation's incredible. The thing that, and I mentioned this in the review, is that when you think of Bambi, you always think of the first half of the film. You think of baby Bambi and Thumper and Flower and the tragic scene with the mom. After that point, and I watched this film about 2 or 3 times before we did the retrospective, and already now I have forgotten the last part of that film. I know that he has a fight with another male deer. I get that, and I remember that, and I remember the visuals of it and the lighting and how very intense it is for that violent encounter, but I don't remember anything else. There's something about the second half of Bambi that just it's like the flashy thing from Men in Black. It just leaves my mind. So I think that Bambi definitely has more emotional impact than Dumbo has, and the animation is probably a lot better. But I remember all of Dumbo. I remember every beat of Dumbo, whereas Bambi, not so much. This feels really harsh of me. I'm going to put Bambi in C. That could be bumped up because I do think animation-wise and just the power behind that film is a lot. There's a lot more there than there is in Dumbo, but it's just because I think that Bambi very much is all about that first half of the film, and I think it loses a little bit of its impact towards the second half. Bath Time says you can't take kids to see a Disney film and have them contemplate their mother's death. Well, you know, they did it to even greater effect, I think, in The Land Before Time, and that obviously that was a Don Bluth film, but yeah. JDC says, I have a feeling that you're going to put Chicken Little and Strange World in F tier due to how substantially unremarkable they are to a lot of people. Heck, I even found those movies forgettable. We'll get to them. They're in the 40s and the 60s, aren't they? So in terms of the numbers, not the decade in which they came out. Let's move on to the next one. Saludos amigos. Okay. We're in wartime now with Disney, and you know they couldn't produce features. They had to do sort of like propaganda pieces, and the next few films were designed to bring other audiences in, you know, South American audiences into the mix. Saludos Amigos is like 40 odd minutes, isn't it? It doesn't even count as a feature. It's fine. There's some fun animation in there, I suppose, with Goofy, and it's informative about a new culture and what they wear and, you know, what food they have and everything like that. But they were made for that one purpose. And yeah, I can't compare this to anything else. I'm going to have to put Saludos Amigos in E tier. I really am. Three Caballeros is better than Saludos Amigos. It's that live action combined with animation. It's very much in a similar tier for me with Saludos Amigos, but I think with the other two characters, and you got more musical numbers, I think, in Three Caballeros. I think I'm still going to put it in E tier because they very much are almost like a what do you call it? Like a double feature. Those two films, they come as a package deal, really. But I do think that Three Caballeros is a little bit more remarkable than Saludos Amigos, but that's where I'm going with those, I think. Make My Music. This is almost like another send-up of Fantasia. Nowhere near as good, but a similar vein of where you have just music and images playing over it. I didn't know what to think of this one. I'd never watched this one before until we did the retrospective. And granted, I've only seen it the once. I haven't gone back and rewatched it since then. But I remember kind of enjoying this one. But how much did I enjoy it? I enjoyed it probably more than Saludos Amigos and Three Caballeros. I'm feeling D tier for this one. That could drop to E. Again, I need to sort of gauge where all of these low tiers are going to be right now. But I don't think it was an awful movie. It's fairly unremarkable. But there were a few musical numbers in there I thought were quite interesting with some nice fun ideas to them. I think it's the one that's got Peter and the Wolf in there, and I remember having that or seeing that at least on a separate Disney video. I think it was like a collection of a few of their shorts, and yeah, that Peter and the Wolf segment sort of stayed with me for quite a while. So yeah, I'm going with that one. Bath Time says, is it the first live action plus animation, or is that Mary Poppins? I have a feeling that Mary Poppins came out a lot after, didn't it? Was that the 50s? 60s, sorry, that was 1964. Yeah, so this would have been one of the earliest ones. I don't know if it was the first film. I think I would have remembered that if it was billed as the first ever film that integrated live action with animation. I don't think it is. But certainly in terms of Disney's catalogue, it probably was one of the first, I imagine. Do you have any water, etc.? You can't do 60 plus films and not have a little drink. I do. I've got Aldi's Finest right here, so I'm good. I'm all right at the moment, actually. My voice is holding up, but yeah, I mean, you know the drill by now. I do a lot of long streams, and by the end of the 2 hours or 3 hours, I'm hoping the stream is not going to go on for that long. But I realise that we're 16 minutes into this, and we've already placed the first handful of films. So let's get back into it. Let's make some headway a little bit. Okay, Fun and Fancy Freeze next. I really enjoyed this film as a kid. It's a film in two halves, really. It's once again, we haven't got back to feature films yet. We're still producing shorts. But there's the little animated bear segment at the beginning. What's his name? Bingo the bear. I can't remember his exact name now. But he's trying to find a female bear. He's trying to find some love. It's quite heartwarming. And then the second act gets a little bit weird. We have another live action segment in between with, I'm guessing he was some kind of US kids TV show guy, but watching it in 2025, he's incredibly creepy. He's asking this little girl who's at his house with no other adults around if she would like some ice cream or some candy, which is very, very uncomfortable to watch. And he's a little bit too friendly with some ventriloquist puppets, which is really uncomfortable to watch and just very creepy. I fucking hate ventriloquist puppets. They always really creep me out. So, but then it goes into the Jack and the Beanstalk segment with Mickey Mouse, and I really like that segment. I think that's really, really fun. I love the giant in there and the intense chase down the beanstalk at the end. I think they get quite creative with some of the animation. This isn't one of Disney's best by any stretch of the imagination, but it is one that I think is quite fun. I think I'm going to put this on par with Make Mine Music, to be honest. Out of the two, I probably prefer Fun and Fancy Free. But yeah, I can't really rank it any higher than that, I don't think. I think that's a fair place for it. Let's see. Bath Time says, if JX were here and this were Star Wars, you wouldn't even agree on what the categories are called in 2 hours. You're so right. And I think we actually have talked about doing a Star Wars ranking in the past, but I don't know if I have the strength in me to do that, to be honest. We'll keep it with Disney for now. We'll keep it a little bit more agreeable. Right, Melody Time's the next one. Again, similar vein to Make Mine Music. It's a very, very similar film to that. I didn't like this one as much as Make Mine Music, but I thought it was fine. There's some they change up the animation. They change up the animation style quite a bit in this one, which I liked. I think this one opens with a couple that are ice skating, or they're on like a horse-drawn cart going through like a wintry park, if I remember rightly. And then you have the one with the cowboy at the end, which is quite a fun segment. So yeah, I'm going to put this in a D tier as well. I still quite like those. Right then, Ichabod and Mr. Toad, two fantastic segments, both of which were originally going to be their own respective feature films, but unfortunately they had to be cut down, and they're just in short film version now, unfortunately. Ichabod and Mr. Toad gets really creepy. It's a really well animated, fun, intense, dark chase sequence at the end, and that's the bit that everyone's waiting for. We chill with Ichabod a little bit, see his day to day, how well respected he is in the town, but the segment of that film that you're all waiting for is that final chase, and it's a great payoff. I love the way that they play with the personification of the environment and how he hears all these creepy noises, but it's just wind blowing through the reeds, and similar things to what Walt Disney did with Snow White when she gets trapped in the creepy forest, and how there's like the branches of the trees are almost like talons trying to grab at the protagonist. And I love stuff like that, like the creepy imagery behind everything. And a lot of early Disney films really laid into that creepy stuff. So I enjoy that segment. And it's a fun depiction of Wind in the Willows as well. Significantly cut down. I would have loved to have seen a feature film of Wind in the Willows done by Walt Disney around this time. But yeah, I think I'm not going to go crazy high with this one. Part of me is thinking because I've got Bambi in C tier. This is tough. I'm tempted to put it in D tier, but then that kind of does a disservice to it. But it's just because Bambi is the more fully fledged movie, which I think is much better quality than Ichabod and Mr. Toad. If Bambi gets bumped up to B, I'd probably move Ichabod up to C. But I'm going to keep it in that D tier now. A lot of these films around this point of Disney all sort of fall into one bracket for me. Certainly Saludos Amigos up to Ichabod and Mr. Toad. But now we're bringing out the big guns. Now we're back on fine form here. We've got Cinderella. Disney returning to full feature animated films and almost going back to the grassroots here in opening with a classic Disney, a classic princess fairy tale story. And I think that Disney, whenever they go through their phases, they always come back strong with a great princess film. And it is a great film. Is this as historically significant as Snow White? Maybe not, but I think it's a really, really fun film. I'm going to put Cinderella in A tier. There's some great musical numbers in there. I love Lucifer the cat. You've got Lady Tremaine as the villain. And just, yeah, the moment where she gets the dress and bibbity bobbity boo, it is iconic, I think, but I just don't think it quite hits the heights of Snow White. I don't like the new color correction they did to it as well. They really massacred Cinderella. So much of the line detail was lost in the Blu-ray version. It's really sad. Oh, okay, right. Alice in Wonderland. This is one of my favorites. This was great to go back to. Knowing where I'm going to put a lot of the S tier movies, though, I don't know if I can quite rank it as high as that, but it's a very, very, very high A tier for me, this one. It could creep into S tier. We'll see where we're at by the end of the list, but there's two adaptations of Alice in Wonderland, which I always say are my favorites, and this is one of them, and the other one was a TV movie made in the late 90s. You have Martin Short as the Mad Hatter, you have Whoopi Goldberg as the Cheshire Cat, and that's an adaptation similar to this in a way of both Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass 2. It's such an iconic look for the character. I actually can't remember if the color of her dress and the look of the character is really explained all that much in the book. I know you have the wonderful illustrations from an earlier print of the book, but so much from this film is iconic, and they really do capture the look of the characters, the feel, the voices of all the characters. Just they're so larger than life, wonderful designs to it, and they capture the wackiness, the randomness of Wonderland, but also the strange, like, British order to things, and the fun word play and puns that are all scattered throughout it. It's very episodic, like the book. It's just a great adaptation. Some great songs in there, and it was always one, and still continues to be one that I do go back to. JD says the thing about Alice in Wonderland is that it was the first time Bill Thompson was used as a voice actor. The way Disney reused him in later movies reminds me of Pixar's usage of John Ratzenberger. Yeah, Disney goes through phases of picking a voice actor that recurs through a number of films. I think at the moment it's really Alan Tudyk, who's probably the best example of that. Before that, you had Patrick Warburton. And yeah, they do tend to pick a voice actor that goes through a good substantial amount of Disney films all in a row. And I like when they do that. I like when directors use actors repeatedly, whether it's, like Tim Burton uses the same kind of actors and Martin Scorsese uses the same actors. I like when they do that. Let's have a look. Peter Pan. Oh God, we're going to have a string of A tiers, I think, here at the moment. Peter Pan's going in A tier. I didn't like this one as much as Alice in Wonderland, but it's just a great depiction of the character. The actual designs of the character I love so much in this film, and the thing that always makes me laugh, and it's a wonderful balance between the two, is the villain and the sidekick. It's Captain Hook and Mr. Smee. Their antics and the slapstick, it's fantastically animated, so fluid, and it reminds me of something like a Tom and Jerry cartoon where you're just watching this really fun slapstick, and they get really creative with the animation, especially when the crocodile's involved as well. That's the stuff that I latch on to the most with this film. The flight sequence over London is just breathtaking. It's wonderful stuff. So yeah, that's going in at A tier. I'm quite happy with that. Now, if Dale was on here, this is the one that we'd fundamentally disagree on. This one is the next one, Lady and the Tramp. Now, I don't dislike this film, and I actually think that Disney said that this was among one of his favorites out of all the films that he made. Dale loves this one. I think this would probably be an S tier if this was Dale's list. I think he just really, I don't want to speak for him, but I think he appreciates the charming simplicity that it is almost like a day in the life movie. And that is quite an attractive thing about this film, actually. The animation's great too. And I did like this one as a kid. I thought the Siamese cats were really fun and I enjoyed their song, even if everyone says it's racist now, but I still think those characters are really cool. I do like the more laid-back style to this film, but it never really hits the heights for me. It doesn't keep me coming back. It's not a particularly memorable one for me. You've got certain scenes in there that are very iconic, like the Bella Notte scene with the dogs and the spaghetti that's been parodied to death. And yeah, that's a very prominent moment to this film. But beyond that, like, it's not a bad film. It really isn't a bad film. It's just fairly unremarkable to me. I think, this is either going to go in B or C tier, I think, for me. This is almost, yeah, I think I'm going to put this alongside Bambi. And C makes it look like it's a really bad movie. It's not. I enjoy both of those films. I enjoy both Bambi and Lady and the Tramp. But yeah, it's just, it's fine. It's sort of bang average for me, that one. It doesn't really keep me coming back. Let's see what we've got next. Sleeping Beauty. I loved this film as a kid, and I love this film now. Very, very unique. I love that it was done in the widescreen format, and they really made use of that. It was pushing the animators to their limits because they had to sort of canvas now for this new aspect ratio. The medieval animation style, how it's based off tapestries and whatnot, is just so unique to this film. I like when Disney films do that, where they have a very unique design to that specific film. Now, a lot of the films that come out, they're quite just uniform computer-generated animation, and that's fine, and it's well done, but it all kind of blurs into one for me, especially when you've got Pixar Studios doing the same, and you've got DreamWorks Studios doing the same as well. I like when one of these films comes out and it's just so unique. It's so completely different from anything that's done before. And it was really challenging for the animators, and I think it went like really over budget. But this is an amazing film. The characters let this one down a little bit in terms of Princess Aurora, who's probably not the most engaging of protagonists, certainly not as endearing as a Snow White or a Cinderella. But she's fine. She's like perfectly serviceable, and a similar thing to the previous two princess entries as well is that the prince doesn't really have much characterization. He's just kind of there. He's very silent protagonist. He's fine. He's there to serve that traditional role of saving the damsel in distress, and they both lived happily ever after. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if we're looking at this in terms of a tier list, the ones that are going to be higher up are probably going to be those ones that have a bit more character. But there is still so much charm to this film. I love the animation style and the villain. My God, Maleficent, easily one of the best Disney villains there is out there. The look of the character, the voice actress, the same voice actress who did Lady Tremaine in Cinderella, commands such a presence even from her opening scene. It's very creepy. I love the haunting music as well when she lures Princess Aurora in, where she pricks her finger on the spinning wheel. And the whole final fight with the dragon is amazing. This is going in A tier for me. Everything I said with the sort of shortcomings with the main two characters, I think it more than makes up for it with the, oh God, voice is going, the Three Good Fairies and Maleficent, and just the look of the film cements that as an A tier movie for me. I'm looking at Snow White and I realized that I probably would bump that down to an A just because it's more on par with those other ones. But I think it's just the importance needs to cement that as an S tier right now. But if I do choose to pick one film that's going to go in my S tier, Snow White will be dropping, because I will say that that's not my favorite one of all time out of all of them. Bathtime says, I have to go and do a football show, but please put Robin Hood into Z tier for having people from Nottingham playing American football. Brexit means Brexit. Well, it's certainly not going in Z tier because I absolutely love that film. But no, I appreciate you for keeping the conversation going, Bathtime, and have a great time on your live stream, man, and I'll catch up with you soon. Thanks for tuning in. 101 Dalmatians. Now, when I was watching these in sequence, the animation really did drop off for me with this one. We move into the more sketchy, like pencil sketch, jagged edges, Xerox era of Disney here. So they were trying to save a little bit of money. And I remember being quite hard on this film at the time, especially after Sleeping Beauty, which had this wonderfully intricate animation and colors and detail in the backgrounds and whatnot. And then 101 Dalmatians feels very sort of like intentionally rushed on the animation. Animation? I can't talk. I like combined the word Dalmatian and animation there. But the characters are great. The music's great. And it is a really, really fun film. I don't know if I'm going to put this quite in A tier. I think this is more of a B tier film for me. As a kid, I loved it, and I used to watch the live action one as well with Glenn Close, which I think is, in terms of Disney live action adaptations, I think that's probably one of the best. It's a really, really fun film. But yeah, this isn't going to quite hit the heights for me. I don't think it's an A tier. Cruella's a great villain. It's a fun song, but yeah, it's going to go in B tier, I think, that one. I don't think I can really place that higher at this point. Oh, Sword in the Stone. I used to love the Madam Mim fight with Merlin. That's really fun, where they're turning into the different animals and whatnot. And that's, to me, the most creative part of the film, is during that whole scene. But this one falls victim to reusing a lot of animation. You can see it recycled and like sound effects. You've got the discrepancy of Arthur's voice as well, where the main actor, I think, was going through puberty at the time, so his voice is super deep in one cut, and then it just cuts to the next scene and it's back to what it was as a child. It's kind of all over the place for me, and the animation doesn't quite hit the heights for me with this one. You've got the moments where he transforms into the different animals as well, and where he's a fish and where he's a squirrel, and there's not a lot about this film that brings me back to it. I'm tempted to put this in D tier. It's either C or D tier to me. You know what? I'm going to go D tier, I think, for The Sword in the Stone. That could probably bump up to a C tier, maybe. Yeah, it doesn't do much for me now, especially in my adult life. Sword in the Stone. It's fine. It's like the low end of average for me. There are much, much better films on this list, so I'm going to place it there for now, I think. Oh, Jungle Book. Love it. My God, the music in this is outstanding. The characters just absolutely leap off the screen for me in this one. I love all the characters. Is it a little bit weird and dated now that the vultures are a pastiche on the Beatles? A little bit, but I even like those characters too. Shere Khan is such a fun villain in this. I love the stiff upper lip British voice to him. And he's a very intense villain by the end of it. I loved Baloo growing up. Baloo was the friend that we all wanted. He was so cool, so chill. And King Louie, that scene, King of the Swingers, is probably my favorite song from the film. The elephants too. This is a strong A tier film for me. This is going right up there. It's a joy to watch. When I watched it again for the retrospective, I was worried for pretty much every film on this list, thinking, well, I watched these films a lot when I was a kid. Are they still going to hold up? And Jungle Book absolutely still holds up for me. It's brilliant. Aristocats. This is a fun movie. I like Aristocats. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna put it in B tier. It's not the greatest thing of all time, but it is a lot of fun. You got some fun. I'm a sucker for great slapstick humor and really creative animation in there. And the bit where you've got Edgar trying to mop up all of the evidence and the dogs are trying to capture him and whatnot. That's some great stuff. you've got Everyone Wants to Be a Cat in there as well, which is a total earworm and gets into your head. And yeah, like the plot's whatever. It's fine. It's like a fun little romp, I guess. I quite like it. JDC says Lady and the Tramp may be remembered for the spaghetti sequence during Bella Notte, but for me it was always beguiled by the song's park sequence because of Eyvind Earl's noticeable painting style. Yeah. I do like how Lady and the Tramp shot, how it's very, you're in the dog's world. The humans are there, but it never really focuses on them all that much, and you only get quick little glimpses of them, and the way that the camera and the animation's actually framed cinematically in the shot is very ground level, and I really appreciate that about it. There is some wonderful animation to it. It's just sort of like the plot for me is just a little bit unremarkable, and there's just something about it that doesn't really make me rush back to watch it again, but I do enjoy it. Okay, let's move on. Let's see what we've got next. Oh, Robin Hood. Okay, I'm sorry, Bath Time. I know you wanted me to put this in Z tier, which doesn't exist on this, but this is going firmly in A tier for me. One of my absolute favorites. Every time I go back to this, it's great. The villain, especially his antics, the voice, just it's so much fun. I love the Sheriff of Nottingham too. You've got almost a carryover from the Baloo character in there as well, the same voice actor, and he's a bear character, and it's basically Baloo again, isn't it, in the character of Little John. It's so much fun, this film. It just every single minute, it's so comedic. You've got the whistle stop song as well, which gets stuck in your head too. Oodle Alley, it's nothing short of brilliance. Now, there is a lot of reused animation in this one. A lot of the Disney films around this time were doing that, but I don't even mind. It's a great look to the character. I think it's a fun retelling. Legitimately, I think this and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves might be my favorite depictions of and adaptations of Robin Hood. This is probably my favorite, even above Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. They're both great in their own way, and there have been so many tellings of that story, but this is probably my favorite. It's similar to Alice in Wonderland in that regard, of when I think of Robin Hood, when I think of Alice in Wonderland, the two Disney ones are pretty much at the top of the list in terms of how adaptations go. I always get a kick out of Robin Hood. It's a fantastic film. I love it. Comes on the TV quite a bit, actually. If a Disney film's going to be on the TV, it's usually Robin Hood. It's like a Sunday early morning, like 10 a.m., 11 a.m. kind of thing when it's on the TV. So I used to watch it a lot on there as well. Okay, then we get The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. I've got to put this in A tier, haven't I? I really have. We've got so many films in A tier. I'm going to have to start redistributing these, I think. But it's just so wholesome and charming, and the significance of the characters as well, and the actual design of the characters. Adding characters into the mix as well, like Gopher, for example. It really does cement this as its own. I think it really captures the spirit and the style of A.A. Milne's writing. I love the fourth wall breaking moments, how you actually have Winnie the Pooh and the narrator as well, how you have the text on screen and they're interacting with the text and they know that they're in a story. And by the end of it, it's such a sweet message, that final scene with Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh. And I think that's the great thing about A.A. Milne and a lot of books similar to that, is that it transcends all ages. You're going to gravitate towards it as a child. Of course, you are, with the colourful characters and the fun little escapades of the characters. But there is that nostalgia to it, and the generational thing of getting older and remembering your childhood, and it always always having that place in your heart for you that you can come back to if you need it. It's wonderful. I love the designs of the characters. Tigger is my favorite character out of all of them. The music's fantastic. It's just, absolutely well-deserved A-tier place as far as I'm concerned. Ooh, then we get to The Rescuers. Oh, The Rescuers. Where are we going to put this one? So this has a fantastic sequel, which we'll be ranking later on in the video. This is... This is probably going to go in D tier for me, I must admit. The sequel is going to be a lot higher up, but this one, D tier, I think. It's for the rescuer's first adventure, it's just a little bit of a swing and a miss for me, isn't it? There's not, the villain's very much Cruella de Vil. There's some fluid animation on the humans, definitely, but the music, the adventure, and they don't really capture the character. There's not a lot of good character stuff in there for me with this one. It's a very simple story, and there's nothing wrong with that. But my God, when we get to the sequel, they completely up the ante in the best possible way, not just in terms of the action and the animation. Of course, so much had developed since this first Rescuers film, but the actual characters of Bernard and Miss Bianca, there's just so much to gravitate towards in the sequel and not so much in this one. I don't know when I'm ever going to go back to that first Rescuers film. And even as a kid, I had both of them on video. I was always watching Rescuers Down Under, and nothing even brought me back to this one as a kid. So it's not even like an age thing. It's even as a kid, this film didn't do it for me. So yeah, I'm going to put that in D tier, I think, Rescuers. Sorry, I should be putting these at the end of the list, shouldn't I? I've kind of messed with the order a little bit of these. There we go. Okay, what do we have next? We have, The Fox and the Hound. Okay, Fox and the Hound is going to go in very strong B tier for me. I'd be tempted to actually put this in A tier, maybe. Oh, there's some good stuff. There's some phenomenal stuff, actually. The actual friendship between Todd and Copper, I think, is just wonderfully put across in the film. I think this film could have been more impactful. I know in the original story, I think Chief is killed on the train tracks, and I think that would have been more emotionally impactful in the film. I think it would have given Copper more of a reason to go after Todd and get him riled up and want to get his revenge. The bear scene at the end traumatized me as a kid. There's almost like this jump scare where Amos Slade's stalking after Todd, and then this bear looms above him, and it's got like these bright piercing red eyes. Very, very fluid animation and just terrifying. This force of nature just, doing battle with Amos Slade and Todd and Copper at the end of the film. Scared the living shit out of me as a kid. I don't know. I'd be tempted to bump this up to an A tier, but I think that this is a very, very special film, and I think it could have easily transcended into A tier if it hadn't have pulled any punches. And in some respects, it doesn't. There are some very scary moments in this. There are some very emotionally impactful moments in this of loss and everything like that at the very beginning of the film, where Todd loses his mom. Very, very similar to Bambi in that regard, where, they're both running and you just hear the silent gunshot. And then you also have the scene where the widower takes Todd, essentially her child that she's reared from a pup, and releases him into the wild is a very emotional scene and gets to a lot of people. So I'm going to keep it in B tier for now. That might be bumped up, but I think it's a really, really good film. It's a very high, it'd be a B plus for me, Fox and the Hound. Okay, now we get to the good one. The very underrated classic here, actually, which is, what number was it? Number 25, The Black Cauldron. Now, as a film, this is probably B tier in terms of the plot. Hearing what got cut out of it, I think this could have easily been bumped into, this could have been a much stronger film overall. It was classed as too traumatizing, too scary, even by, Disney standards at this point, where you have Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Pinocchio and some of the early Disney films, which are absolutely terrifying in some regards. The original cut of this was considered too scary even by those standards too. So, but I love this film. I'm a sucker for swords and sorcery, in case you couldn't tell. I love fantasy storytelling. The Horned King, John Hurt, is nothing shy of incredible as the Horned King in this. A very striking design for the character, a terrifying design for the character. And John Hurt with that slow, low, raspy, whispery voice of his is a tremendous villain for this film. Now, is the plot there? Do we get a lot of characterization with Taran and Princess Alonwe and Fleur de Flem? No. And I know it's based on a book series, and I think had they have stuck to the books a little bit more, they could have got a lot of good stuff with this. Nonetheless, I absolutely adore this film, and it is going in A tier for me. I love that it's so unique, it's so violent, the genre is so completely different from a lot of all the other Disney films, and it's one that just really stays with me. And I loved it as a kid, and I even loved being scared as a kid of these films because, ultimately it's going to have a happy ending. But I even as a kid, I liked that this one didn't pull any punches. It's violent, it's scary, it's intense, and it's no short of an A-tier film for me. Oh, Basil the Great Mouse Detective. Again, probably A-tier. It's going in A-tier, I think, this one. I love the character of Ratigan. Vincent Price does it similar to like the Horned King for me. Just absolutely steals the show. Tremendous performance. You can tell that Vincent Price is having the time of his life playing Ratigan. I love the Sherlock Holmes stories, and it's great to see that adapted in a certain way. And it's a fun caper. Is it the best film in the world? Probably not. But the what is remarkable about the film is the ending in the clock tower, Big Ben, because I think that was the first one. And maybe Black Cauldron actually used some elements of this too. Yeah, I think Black Cauldron did. It used some CGI animation in there. But Basil the Great Mouse Detective really put really up to the ante in terms of the action and what you can do with the camera and what you can do with the enhancement of computer generated imagery with the cogs in Big Ben. And it is a really intense final action sequence. You just have Ratigan becoming completely animalistic and just scratching and tearing at Basil, and it gets really violent actually towards the end for a phenomenal showdown on the actual hands of Big Ben. I love that final sequence, and I think the voice actor, especially the voice actor for Basil, really sticks out for me too. I think it's a wonderful Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty adaptation, but with cartoon mice, and I think it's wonderful. So it's going in A-tier for me. It immediately gripped me as soon as I watched it. Oliver and Company. This was a big one growing up. The music was everywhere. The McDonald's toys was everywhere. And I remember just seeing a trailer for this film all over the place. Pretty much at the beginning of every single Disney film that I owned, there would be some kind of trailer for Oliver and Company. The film itself is fine. It's an interesting take on the story of Oliver Twist, but I don't know. This is going to go in B tier for me, I think, this one. Yeah, it's nothing too remarkable, but I do like the music in there, and that was really the biggest selling point, I think, especially the song Why Should I Worry? But Sykes as a villain, he's just this loan shark. He's just this mob boss kind of thing. And there's not a lot of layers to him, really. You got a fun performance by Dom DeLuise in there as Fagin. So I'm going to go B tier on that one, I think. I'm quite happy with that. Little Mermaid. Here we go. So when Disney sort of falls into a little bit of a slump, it's not really the complete success at this moment. This film comes along. We sort of we reset the board again, like we did with Snow White, like we did with Cinderella, with a fantastic princess traditional fairy tale. The music and the importance of this film, especially, I'd almost want to put this in S tier, but based on a few of the other films, this is going to be a very, very strong A tier. And the reason that would probably be like an A plus for me, The Little Mermaid, because this was the starting point. This was the almost the beginning of the Disney Renaissance. I know that's usually credited for Beauty and the Beast, which is the next movie, but for me, it's like this got the ball rolling, and then Beauty and the Beast just absolutely nailed it at the pass. So fantastic designs for this. The underwater effects are brilliant, and I love the fluidity of the animation on the way that they do the hair and everything. Ursula is a hilarious villain. Great villain song, Poor Unfortunate Souls, and just a wonderful voice performance where you can tell that the voice actress is just having the time of her goddamn life playing this character. Sebastian, Under the Sea, Kiss the Girl, just so many wonderful music numbers, and just showing that phenomenal partnership with Alan Menken and Howard Ashman doing the music. So yeah, very strong A tier. Again, I just said the next one was Beauty and the Beast. I made the classic error of forgetting that the next movie actually exists, which is Rescuers Down Under. It's because it's sandwiched between two quintessential Disney princess movies, and I always forget it. It's in between those two. My bad to the Rescuers Down Under, because this film is easily going in A tier. I know we've got a lot of A tier movies right now, but it's just because Disney has so many good films, or they used to have so many good films at least. Rescuers Down Under completely ups the ante from that previous Rescuers movie. It's the animation, the the actual characterization of Bernard and Miss Bianca is wonderful as well. You've got Bernard who wants to propose to her, and every opportunity that he gets, something happens. There's always a distraction. It's a call to action movie, and it's also Bernard trying to be a better man and trying to find his courage by the end of the film, which is wonderfully put across. You've got John Candy in there as well, who's just oh god, what a man. He was just incredible, fantastic actor, wonderful comedic actor, and it's great that he got to lend his voice to a character in the Disney catalog. And Wilbur's brilliant. Definitely the comic relief character, and John Candy's wonderful in doing it. It's the music as well, the cinematography, the wonderful flight sequence with Marahute. It's gets that easily into A tier for me, and probably alongside Black Cauldron, one of the most underrated Disney movies on this tier list, I think. I'm just going to take a quick sip of water, and then we're going to get back to it. Okay. Right, let's see what we've got next. Oh, Taylor's Oldest Time. Beauty and the Beast. Okay, we are bumping this one up to S tier. This one's going in S tier. This one's wonderful. This one is sublime. In my opinion, it's a perfect movie. There is another Disney film as well, which I would rank almost side by side with this. And when I say which one's my favorite Disney movie, it's between Beauty and the Beast and one other one. But I think because this is so traditional, it is that princess story. They got the formula so right. The Little Mermaid set up the formula, and then this just ran with it. And this paved the way for so many other films. All the other Disney animated films throughout the 90s were all off the back of this one and The Little Mermaid. This film's so important. The animation, the music, the voice acting, and just how much it feels like a Broadway musical come to life. The fact that throughout, they gave the Beast a heart. Like, I know a lot of people who watch it became so enamored with the Beast's character that when he does transform into a human at the end, they're like, oh no, let's go back to the Beast, because that's who you build that emotional connection with in the film. This film's so important to me for many, many reasons. And it's one that still gets me very emotional by then. Throughout, I can just hear the opening few bars of the prologue to this, and it gets me going. The ballroom dancing sequence with Angela Lansbury's song is incredibly moving. And she did that in one take, and it's so. I keep saying the word iconic. I need to find a different word, but it really, really is. And when we get to the end, and no matter how many times I've watched this film countless times, when it gets to the moment where the Beast is stabbed and he's dying, it still gets me every time. Every time I watch it, I'm like, oh no, what if he doesn't make it this time? It's sublime. Absolutely sublime. Not only is this probably my favorite Disney film, or one of, it's in my top 10 favorite films of all time, not just animation, just in general. Love it. Can't sing its praises enough. Aladdin, it's going right up into S tier. Maybe this is the nostalgia kicking in a little bit now, but again, this Disney Renaissance formula was so good. Robin Williams is the genie, of course. You've got wonderful music in there, once again by Alan Menken. It's incredible. One of the best Disney villains too, with Jafar. And I actually really liked the trilogy growing up, with the return of Jafar and Aladdin and the King of Thieves. I really couldn't get enough of Aladdin and this world, the world of Agrabah. Fantastic comic relief characters as well. A Whole New World is one of the best Disney songs ever written, as far as I'm concerned, with beautiful imagery that accompanies it in the final film. It's just really fun. It's a very, very interesting way to go about it, by getting Robin Williams in there and having a lot of fourth wall breaking moments and a lot of pop culture references in there. But that's what makes the film so special and so unique. So yeah, undoubtedly Aladdin is going in S tier for me. It's phenomenal. We're going to be on a string of these, I think. Lion King, where's that going? Well, again, that's going straight into S tier. So magnificent, just an absolute majestic film. a film that the studio didn't really have much interest in. They were working on this one alongside the next one, Pocahontas, and they were hedging their bets completely on Pocahontas. They thought that's the one that's going to put us on the map. No one's going to care about this Lion King movie. And it completely took the world by storm, becoming for a time the highest grossing animated film of all time. For a long time, actually, until Frozen came along, and then until, well, I think a lot of other films have outgrossed it now. I think currently it's the live action version of The Lion King, which is the highest grossing animated film of all time, which is really upsetting to me that these live action versions are sort of overwriting the original ones in some way, but this is where it all is. Wonderful characters. The music is outstanding and so cinematic in its scope. You've got a tremendous score by Hans Zimmer as well. And my God, when you get to that stampede sequence, the intensity of that sequence is immeasurable. And, you know, that's aided by the fantastic score by Hans Zimmer, but also the way that the camera moves, the way that it zooms in on Simba's expression. It's outstanding. Even when I watch this today, I can't imagine the countless hours that went into this by the studio and the artists and everything to make these characters, to go from live action renders of the animals in the studio to taking pencil to paper and just creating these characters that are just so larger than life. It's tremendous talent, and it's why I'm really passionate about animation in general. Lion King is going in S tier. There is no other place for that film. It is firmly going in S tier. Pocahontas. Oh, this is one where I'm really torn on, because again, as a kid, like, I watched this film a handful of times, but it's a very ballsy move for Disney. It's like, okay, well, we're going to break away from the Disney princess angle a little bit, and we're going to do a depiction of a really traumatic, harrowing event in human history, incredibly loosely based on real life events, and market it as this romantic star-crossed lovers kind of thing with John Smith and Pocahontas. It's a flawed movie. It's a flawed movie, I think, in terms of its plot, and it's in no way subtle with its themes and what it's talking about. But the music is outstanding, and there's a lot of beautiful imagery to this. And the way that the humans are animated in this is very unique to this film, I think, and very different from what we've had before. They definitely laid into the fact that they wanted to make this. I know it's an animated film, and you do have some of the Disneyisms in there, where you've got the fun animal sidekicks and whatever, and some slapsticky moments in there. But the way they animated the humans, you could tell that they wanted this to have real gravitas behind it. And in some aspects, it does. Certainly in terms of the music, which I think is among one of Alan Menken's best scores. It really is. It's just outstanding. I will never forgive the studio for removing If I Never Knew You, which is the emotional crux to this film. It is the emotional heart to this film, and the love story and the relationship theme that's repeated throughout the film and reprised beautifully at the end. To remove that scene would be like removing the song Beauty and the Beast in Beauty and the Beast, or removing Circle of Life from The Lion King. It's like, you just don't do it. So it depends which cut. If you watch the special edition, then Pocahontas is a really good film. You know what? Part of me wants to... Do I put it in A or B tier? I feel really bad for putting it in B tier. You know what? I might have to put Pocahontas in B tier. That could be bumped up to... no, you know what? Actually, seeing everything that else is... No, it's going in A tier. It's an A tier movie, but it's like an A- for me, that film. Maybe I'll change that in the ranking once we take a final look at it at the end. Mr. Fulton says, hello, getting ready for my big Special Olympics. Somebody go, this is coming up Friday. Okay. Well, good luck with that, I guess, Mr. Fulton. Hope you win. Get that gold medal. Hunchback of Notre Dame. Oh, my God. Here we go. Hunchback of Notre Dame. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Boom. S tier. This, along with Beauty and the Beast, are the two films that I always hail as my personal favorites out of the entire Disney canon. Hunchback of Notre Dame, similar to Pocahontas in this regard, it's an incredibly ballsy idea to make this movie. You can't quite understand why they'd go, you know what? Let's depict that Victor Hugo novel, which is incredibly harrowing and such a dark subject matter. Let's adapt that in a fun Disney animation studio film. And it is a film that is conflicted with those tones. It's when it is being serious and when it's dealing with complex themes of religion and, you know, uprising and prejudice and whatnot, it excels phenomenally well. When it tries to be the Disney animated fun kids movie, and we have more of the moments with the cartoon gargoyles, you do have this clash of tone. And I really wish that Disney had just gone, you know what, we're going to make a serious movie with this. I think it would have had so much more impact behind it. So it is flawed in that regard, but even still, the good points of this film vastly outweigh the negative. Judge Frollo is my favorite Disney villain out of all of them. His incredibly complex character, voiced wonderfully by Tony Jay. A voice that just has so much power and command and presence behind it. And just a very complex, multi-layered villain and character. How he truly believes what he's doing is righteous and good for the people. And for his own moral compass, but he is a sinful man. He is a flawed man. He is lustful. He is murderous, but he's doing it all in the name. He has this weird warped logic to everything he does, like a complete psychopath. And yeah, this is, in my opinion, Alan Menken's finest work. I think this is his best score by a country mile. It's the size of the orchestra and the power behind it, even from the opening few bars. Hellfire, wonderfully offset with Heaven's Light as well. It's a truly remarkable score. It's a film that I'd love to see in concert. If they ever did this film on its own and the music from it, they did do a Disney orchestra, a Disney concert called The Sound of Magic, I think it was called, which I went to see last year. By popular demand, it's coming back next year, so I am tempted to go and see it again. And there is a moment where they do a lot of medleys of songs, but there is one moment where they play a little bit of the Bells of Notre Dame, and oh my God, let me tell you, the impact of hearing that with a live orchestra was tremendous. Hunchback's going in S tier. Hercules is also going in S tier. This is one of the most important films in my growing up, in my being a kid. This was one of the most repeated ones that I watched. I practically wore out the VHS cassette tape on this one. But I also had the games. This is where I started to get into gaming, and the PS1 game of Hercules was amazing. I was stuck on it for ages. I was stuck on the level where you have Nessus the Centaur, because it never gave you any hints of how you had to beat him. And I didn't know that you had to jump on his back. So I was stuck on that game for ages. But it is one of my favorite games on the PS1 as well, probably purely for nostalgic reasons. A phenomenal score once again by Alan Menken. You're going to get tired of hearing me say that, but it's true. This was the last score that he did for the time being, wasn't it? Yeah, then it moved to some other composers. Then he came back for some of the other ones later down the line. But Hades is one of my favorite Disney villains. Whenever I say which Disney villain matches my personality, it's probably Hades. I love how sarcastic he is. I love how he talks like a fast-talking, wisecracking lawyer almost. James Woods is just perfect, and came back to voice the character many times throughout the Kingdom Hearts games and, you know, some of the other side projects they did with Hercules. Yeah, this one's, especially after watching Superman again recently, it's basically the story of Superman. So it's not a particularly remarkable story in that regard, in that it is quite derivative, but I don't mind. So, you know, the traditional tried and tested stories are among the best. It's how you tell it and the characters that you have and the world that you set it in. And I love Greek mythology. In fact, this was probably one of the earliest films that got me into mythology, especially Greek mythology is probably my favorite out of all of them. Yeah, total S tier movie for me, that one. Mulan also or Mulan, as some people say, also going in S tier. It's bloody fantastic. If you want a an example of how to write a strong female protagonist or a strong female character in general, this is one of the films that I always direct people to. The music's incredible. Oh God, who did the music? It's Jerry Gold. Is it Jerry Goldsmith? I'm thinking of the name wrong. Oh Lord, how am I blanking on the name? Yeah, it is Jerry Goldsmith. Yeah, no, I'm right. I adore the music in this. The action set pieces, the wartime stuff. We got someone who says, in my opinion, I do like Disney's Dinosaur. I have a feeling we have another spammer in the comments. This is very reminiscent of a string of Disney Dinosaur messages that we had before. I'm going to leave them for now, but we'll see. I might have to clear out some of the comments here in a second. If you are real, though, 1,000 apologies, but I don't think so. Mulan. I love the moment where you've got the Huns on the snowy bank, and you just hear their war cry, and it starts to echo throughout the mountains, and they charge down. That was one of my favorite moments in the film. Just a very powerful film, and I love the strength of Mulan's character. And what's beautiful about it is that she has to work for it. She has the vulnerability of a woman, and she's going against all of the social constraints. But she digs deep, and she trains, and she powers through it, and she grits her teeth and gets through it. The training montage, I'll Make a Man Out of You, is one of the best examples of that, and a wonderfully put together montage where we see her go, just that the blood, sweat, and tears, and the determination, and also the reason that she does it as well. It's not for any personal glory or to prove to anyone. I know she has that moment later on where she thinks that is the reason that she did it, was out of some sense that, but it is an obligation to her family. She's doing the right thing, and it is the right thing because her father would absolutely be murdered straight away because he's an aging man. He's frail, and she does it for family. She does it to protect her father, and I think that's a wonderful motive that gets her in the fight. It's bloody fantastic. I love that film. Tarzan. Well, I mean, if we're talking about soundtracks to this movie, then this soundtrack is absolutely going in S tier. I think that's probably the main thing that people remember about this film is the incredible score the incredible soundtrack by Phil Collins, who sung in is it 5 different languages? He did the French version, he did the German version, the Spanish version. My God, that guy's talented. There's something about this movie, though, where this sort of spelled the end for the Disney Renaissance. This is usually the one that people say, or Fantasia 2000, sometimes people say is the end of the Disney Renaissance. This is more in the vein of Pocahontas for me, in that it does have some incredible strengths. The CGI integration with the trees and the vine swinging and how cinematic they make it and how creative they get with Tarzan doing all of that is brilliant. But there's something about the story. I don't know if it's that Clayton's just a bit of a weak villain, despite being voiced by absolute national treasure that is Brian Blessed. But yeah, I don't know. This doesn't quite hit the heights for me as any of the ones in the S tier for me. So it's fine. It's a good movie. There's a lot of great action in there, and there's some wonderful character moments. The bit where Tarzan first meets Jane and they do the hands together. The romance stuff's really well handled in this, but I think for me the soundtrack is what really carries it. Stuff like Son of Man and Strangers Like Me are among the best for me. So yeah, I'm going to put Tarzan in A tier. It's a good film, but it's just not one that brings me back to it. Do I bump it down to a B? No, I'll keep it. I'll keep it there. I think I'll keep it there. Right, we're getting into, well, we've hit the year 1999 now, I think. Fantasia 2000. I remember that because I was really annoyed when I was doing the video description for when I did that review. I was really shocked to learn that it wasn't actually released in the year 2000. It was 1999, which really bothered me. How are we all doing anyway? We all hanging in there? We all getting through it? Got a few more Disney films to rank now. I'm actually, Dale had the right idea for breaking this into 2 parts, because if Dale was on this video, I mean, I've been going for an hour now and I still haven't finished my list. And if Dale was doing his list too, this would already be well over 2 hours. So yeah, that was definitely the right call, I think. Fantasia 2000. Okay, if I take each individual segment on its own, there is nothing wrong with this movie. The very, very, very varied animation styles to it. You got the stuff like Rhapsody in Blue, which is that very blocky, like 2D designs, very fast-paced, like sketchy kind of designs to it, which I like. You get almost fully computer-generated imagery where you have the whale flight sequence, or you have the steadfast tin soldier. You have the absolutely breathtaking is it called? Is it the Firebird? Is that what it's called at the very end with the nature spirit? Among probably some of Disney's best animation right there. But there's something about this film that doesn't come together as a whole. I think just as you're about to get into this film and you're settling into it, the film's over. It's like a little over an hour, this film. And they also reuse the Sorcerer's Apprentice sequence, so we lose about 10 minutes with that as well, because it's a segment we've already seen in the first Fantasia film. So I don't think it quite has the same staying power as the original Fantasia. Well, it almost certainly doesn't have the same staying power as the original Fantasia. On top of that, too, you have some really cringe-worthy celebrity cameos in there who just, hog the screen time. And as a film, it's not bad. The animation and the segments in there are brilliantly done. But because you have that repeat of the Sorcerer's Apprentice and you've got that awkward celebrity cameo stuff in there, it never feels like a complete product. It feels like it's cut short just as you're about to get into it. So I'm probably going to put this in... I'm tempted to... You know what? I'm probably going to put it in D tier. That might be a bit low, but it's either D or C tier, but then Bambi's a lot more iconic and Lady and the Tramp. Yeah, I'm going to keep it in D tier for now, I think, Fantasia 2000. JDC says, did you think Clayton's shocking villain death is more interestingly memorable than the character himself? A lot of people talk about just how messed up that death was for a G-rated Disney film. I think you're absolutely on the money there, JDC. Yeah, I think when you're ranking or talking about shocking Disney villain deaths, that's easily probably in the top 3 if it's not the top 1. It's a very striking image as well, isn't it, where you have the it's like the thunder and the lightning and the lights reflecting through the tree canopy, and you just see that silhouette of his hanging body at the end. I think you're absolutely right there. I think Brian Blessed is an incredible actor. I love the voice. I've got nothing wrong with that, but I think it's just the action. He sort of falls into that category of Governor Radcliffe for me from Pocahontas. How, I just want money, I just want gold, I just want riches, and I don't care what gets in my way to get it. And it's like, oh, okay, well, it's very stock. It's just a very serviceable stock villain, and there's I think your assessment there is bang on the money. I totally agree with that. Let's carry on then. Right, Disney's Dinosaur. So this was not made by Disney Animation Studios, so it's going in F category. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to review these sort of based on what I actually feel about the film themselves, but it's technically not Disney Animation Studios. It's really annoying that this is where we divert from the UK and the US list for some reason. I don't know why they just didn't keep the lists the same. It's completely confusing to me. Disney's Dinosaur, I adored as a kid. Growing up, there were so many dinosaur related things when I was growing up. I used to pour through loads of books on dinosaurs. I had all the names memorized. I used to draw them all the time. I was fascinated by them. And I think kids still are. There's just something fundamentally cool and terrifying and awesome about these huge, I was going to say lizards, huge birds that used to exist years and years ago. If you're thinking now, I had Jurassic Park, which came out the year of my birth in 1993. So I watched that from a very young age. I had We're Back, a dinosaur story, The Land Before Time. You had the Dinosaurs sitcom series. There was Walking with Dinosaurs when I was very young, just everywhere. So, and this was among them, definitely. I went to see this film so many times as a kid. I remember seeing the teaser trailer and being absolutely blown away by the egg travel sequence, where it's just the imagery and it's just the music. And you thought, are the dinosaurs going to talk in this one? And then you started seeing more trailers and you've got the talking lemurs in there. And then it feels like they had an idea where they just wanted almost like a documentary style, like Walking with Dinosaurs. They wanted a or even that segment in the original Fantasia film where it's just the dinosaurs. And it's like a day in the life, and we're an observer, like a documentary style. And then someone came in the last minute, was like, no, we need the dinosaurs talking. We need a more family, traditional film with characters and talking and singing and blah, blah, blah. There's no singing in it, is there? But you know what I mean. So Disney's Dinosaur, it's a very tried and tested. It pretty much follows the story of The Land Before Time. It's very similar to that movie in terms of we're trying to get to a promised land. We're trying to get to the Great Valley in order to survive. We're being pursued by Sharptooth. So in that regard, it's pretty unremarkable. What is remarkable, though, is the animation in it, the CGI integrated with real environments. It's whenever CGI is done in that way, I think it stands the test of time and it holds up a lot more. And I was actually surprised with how good this film still looks. It really does. And I think it is all about that balance. If you can get the live action environments in there and the way that you compose the shot and how you integrate your animation in there, it's really well handled. But I think the film is quite unremarkable. I'm going to put this in C tier, I think. Maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna give it C tier. I enjoy it still, but it's sort of like more. But then Bambi's in the same category as that. That actually hurts me that I've put Bambi alongside Disney's Dinosaur. We're gonna have to reorder some of these. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there for now. We might have to change some of these because just seeing that side by side with Bambi actually kind of hurts my soul a little bit. But we'll carry on. Let's see what we've got next. We have Emperor's New Groove, a film that surprisingly was just an absolute hell of a production. This film got entirely scrapped, rewritten, repurposed, rejigged, everything, the whole works. It was originally going to be called Kingdom of the Sun. It was going to be following in the traditional vein of the Disney Renaissance a lot more, with full musical numbers all the way through. A very, very musical film with all the music done by Sting. As it is, we have like 2 songs that remain in the final product. This film got completely overhauled, and usually when that happens with a film, the end product is absolutely terrible. That's not the case with Emperor's New Groove. It's definitely one of the most comedic ones that there is, and I actually love the visual style to it. The animation is, dare I say, a lot more simplistic in its design. It's a lot more blocky. It seems like there's a lot less detail in there, but the actual design is really fun, and it creates a unique style unto itself, the Emperor's New Groove. So I think I'm going to put this in A tier. I love this film. I think it's hilarious. The characters are brilliant. A very, very well written movie. And as I said, considering that they almost practically cobbled this together and it went through so much of a traumatic production, I'm amazed that film's as good as it is. It's a really fun film. I love Emperor's New Groove. So quotable as well and memeable. And people still love it to this day. Atlantis, The Lost Empire. I am so torn on this film. Okay. I love the world building in this film and how it creates this culture of the Atlanteans. They really went above and beyond. They wrote an entire alphabet. They created a language, the wardrobe, the look, the cultural history, the lore, everything. They really went above and beyond to make this feel like a fully lived in society and culture and people. But there is something fundamentally just really underwhelming about this film. It's difficult to put your finger on. It's because the design of everything, I love the sort of steampunk design to everything too. It's a fun ensemble of characters. It really is. But eventually we get to the traditional stock villain again, where you have Commander Rourke, and he's just like, oh, well, this is going to make me rich, and this is going to put my name in lights. And we could have had something really interesting. The concept of the heart of Atlantis, this power source and how it fuels everything, how they're very technologically advanced. It's all really good stuff. I like the voice acting in it as well. You got Michael J. Fox in there as Milo Thatch. As I say, the core cast is great, and I like how they all are in it for certain for different reasons. One wants to open a flower shop. One wants to like get a garage going with their father, and it's nice, it's good stuff. But there is something fundamentally unremarkable about this movie, but it is very underrated. I can see why it's a bit of a cult classic, so I'm quite torn on this one, actually. Part of me wants to put it in C tier, but there is a lot to like about it. Possibly B. I'm going to go C tier, I think, on Atlantis. But I can see why it gets the love, and I'm glad that it has found a little bit of a cult following. Sorry, in the later years since it came out. Oh, Lilo and Stitch. Okay, Lilo and Stitch is going in A tier. It's a wonderful film. I've heard things of what they've done with the live action version and how they've changed the story at the end and completely bastardized the whole concept of family and Ohana. It's an absolute travesty what they've done, but people don't care. The new Lilo and Stitch is making a shit ton of money. I won't be adding to that total, and I will not be going to see it because guess what? I already have Lilo and Stitch at home, and it's this original. This is the animated classic that is Lilo and Stitch, and that's the one that I'm sticking with. A very, very marketable character. I think if you're looking in terms of the pantheon of Disney characters, the most iconic ones, you've got stuff like Beast, you've got Genie, amongst all those characters, and Stitch firmly cemented himself as one of the most marketable characters and easily identifiable characters too. And he's a really fun creation. It's I love the Elvis Presley music. I love the setting of Hawaii. And it's just such a good emotional message to it. And you got all the fun stuff in there with the aliens and Captain Gantu and Pleakley and Jumba trying to capture their experiment and whatnot. But at its core, the whole message of family and the importance of it and the sacrifices that are made to keep a family going and being there for your siblings or whoever it happens to be. And this disparate bunch of different species, like aliens into the mix, they all find each other at the end and make each other stronger for it. It's a beautiful message, and I think it's a wonderful animated film that still, people still love it to this day. And unfortunately, it's got a new remake, which is outgrossed the original now by quite a bit. So it almost feels like, similar to The Lion King, it's overwritten that original, which I never like when that happens. Treasure Planet for me, right? Okay, this could be quite controversial for some. Is going straight into S tier. I've loved this film ever since I first watched it. I mean, I love the story anyway. I love the story of Treasure Island, and pirates are really cool, and the steampunky quality to it. It's an interesting mix of sci-fi, but then they also keep the traditional ships in there too. But it's a great visual style to it. We're seeing that blend of computer animation and CGI in there, similar to what Atlantis did. But Treasure Planet lands a little bit for me on the characterization and the writing side of things more so than Atlantis a little bit. Granted, it is just following Robert Louis Stevenson's book. That is the story. It's pretty impossible to deviate from that story when it's been told so many different times. But at its core, what this film had to get right was the relationship between Long John Silver and Jim Hawkins, and I think it's probably the best example of that. Especially when we get the flashbacks in there as well, and we see that Jim essentially grew up without a father. His father left at a very young age, and he's a teenager. He's wrapped with hormones, and he's just trying to find his purpose and his place in the world. And he's very rebellious because he's just looking for an outlet. He needs a chance to prove himself and to become a better man. And he finds that fatherly figure in Long John Silver, who unfortunately has that moment where he is a villain. I guess is he like an anti-hero by the end of it? Maybe he is the lovable rogue. He is the lovable villain. And you respect that, and Jim respects him by the end of it too. There's the heart-to-heart moment in this film. You've got the score as well is so beautiful and so moving, but the moment where Long John Silver consoles Jim, and it's the monologue where I'm welling up just talking about it now, because it's just that this scene still continues to have such a profound impact on me. He says to Jim, "You've got the makings of greatness in you, but you've got to take the helm and chart your own course, stick to it no matter the squalls. And when the time comes, you really get to test the cut of your sails and show them what you're made of. Well, I hope I'm there catching some of the light coming off you that day. And then the music does its thing. And the moment where he just rests his head on Long John Silver and he embraces him. At that moment, Long John Silver's got his own villainous agenda, but that's the real heart and soul of the film. And it's done wonderfully. And it's absolutely going into S tier. I love the space setting. It's a film that took the directors years to get off the ground. No one seemed to give it a fair shake. Even Disney didn't give it a fair shake. It wasn't marketed very well at all. It was a loss at the box office, and it is a complete underrated classic and easily up there in S tier for me. Love it. Oh, Brother Bear. So yeah, I was going to say we need to balance this tier list out a little bit. We've got a lot of ones in A tier. Well, that's about to change right now. We're getting into some of the weaker films right now. Okay, Brother Bear. Once again, a pretty damn good soundtrack by Phil Collins on this one. But and this film does have its moments. I'm not going to say it doesn't have its moments, because it does. I think the strongest moments for me are definitely at the beginning of the film, where you have the story of the three brothers going after the bear, the great spirits sequence, where you have the chorus. I've forgotten the language that they sing in. Apologies, but it's great. And the animation, like the Aurora Borealis in the sky and the animal motif, it's brilliantly done. And I think it's got a nice message to it throughout the film, but it really fucking drags in the second act for me. As soon as Kenai as the bear, and the whole tone of the film seems to change and just gets a lot wackier, and it turns into a pretty tried and tested and cliched like buddy road movie. And that can be done well. There's loads of buddy road movies out there that are done well, and this is just really it's the low end of average for me. It doesn't really come together as a complete film. It feels like something that could have been a great short film, but yeah, it doesn't stick the landing for me. The cartoon antics of like the moose in there as well, it just doesn't do it for me. I don't find them funny. I find Coda quite annoying as a character too. It's not without its moments. This is going in D tier, I think. I'm tempted to move Disney's Dinosaur down to D tier as well. Yeah, you know what? Controversially, I'm sorry, I'm going to move that down to D tier as well. Yeah, I think they're about on par. Yeah, we're going to go with that for right now, I think. JDC says, now that you've mentioned that you weren't going to see the existing Lilo and Stitch remake, I won't either. I've only seen a clip of Jumba's stale American accent and only heard that Gantu was removed entirely. Yeah, I think the thing for me is, and I guess this is spoiler alert for the ending of the new live action Lilo and Stitch, so if you are planning on seeing it, I guess shut this video off right now. From what I've heard is Nani's the sister, right? So they add this bullshit, they bolt this additional thing onto her character where she really wants to go off to college to study marine biology, and which apparently she mentions multiple times all throughout the film, that she wants to be a marine biologist. And at the end of the film, they've also created a new neighbor character, and Nani says like, oh, well, I've got to stay here and look after Lilo. I guess I'm not going to be able to chase after my dream of being a marine biologist. And the next door neighbor says, well, I can look after Lilo, because you don't want to halt your life. You want to go off and better yourself and get a qualification and chase after your life. And she says, yeah, but Ohana means family, and family means no one gets left behind. And then the neighbor says something like, and it also means that you can't get left behind. So Nani fucks off to college at the end of the movie to be a marine biologist, just leaving her sister with the next door neighbor. I'm like, oh. So every sense of, obligation, sacrifices that some families have to make, but ultimately none of that, the dreams that you come into this world with are not the dreams that you leave this world with, and family is more important than anything. Being there for your sister, essentially being a parent to your sister, and being part of this family, that's the thing that matters. And they're so happy. You see all of the gallery of photos at the end of the animated movie, and now it's like, nah, Nanny wants to be a career girl, so she's going to just abandon her family and her obligation to do it. It's like, that kind of craps all over the message of the movie a little bit, doesn't it? So for that reason alone, I am not going to watch it. It sounds like a fucking travesty. Speaking of a travesty, Home on the Range, very strange movie for Alan Menken to come back and do the music for. The music's really unremarkable in this one, apart from the Alameda Slim song, Yodel Adel Edel Idaloo, or whatever it is. That's a fun song, and that's the most memorable scene of the film for me. I love how it's very like Technicolor and fiber optic, and as he's hypnotizing all these cows. And it's the part of the film where it feels like, oh, we've got some energy now, and I wish this was the rest of the film. The humor isn't there. The animation really takes a dive. It just feels so basic. It even doesn't feel like a Disney movie half the time. This is going to go in E tier for me. I know some people sort of rank Brother Bear on the same level. Nah, I'd rather watch Brother Bear any day of the week over Home on the Range. Home on the Range gives me nothing. Definitely going in E tier there. Chicken Little, oh boy. We might have our first F tier movie, folks. Now, I wanted to give this film fair shake. I didn't watch this film for the first time until we did the retrospective last year. And I was always kind of against this movie because this was the first computer animated one. I know that on the US list they count Disney's Dinosaur, but that wasn't done by a Disney animation studio. This one was, and they were really trying to get in on the whole computer animated movie thing that every animation studio seemed to be doing now in the early to mid 2000s. This film is a fucking embarrassment. Not only does the animation not look good, even by 2004 standards, by this point you'd had like a bunch of the Shrek movies had been released. You had a lot of DreamWorks animation films that had already done their thing. Not to mention Pixar cranking out quality content since the 90s. There is no reason that the animation to Chicken Little looks this shit. It's filled with contemporary music all the way through, which really just halts the film, and it just doesn't feel like the plot of this film is enough to sustain a full feature. I hated this film, and I will never go back and rewatch this film ever again. Speaking of a film I will never watch again, we have The Wild. Again, at a basic principle, it should go in F because this is not a Disney Animation Studios film. Why this is crowbarred into the UK classics list, I have no idea. It's not a Disney animated classic. It's not a Disney film anyway. It's completely derivative of Madagascar. Even as a kid, I knew that. Like in 2006, I think, did Madagascar come out in 2004 or 2005? I forget right now. It's completely derivative of that, but the animation's all over the place in this one, and really creepy, uncanny valley design in this. It's just really head scratching. It's probably slightly more watchable for me than Chicken Little, but both of these movies are going in F. It's a bad fucking movie. I think the only thing that I thought was vaguely interesting in The Wild was the weird sort of semi-religious cult of the wildebeest at the end. I thought that was an interesting concept, but yeah, oh man, that film was bad. Meet the Robinsons. Okay. This isn't winning any prizes anytime soon. I would probably... Oh, where do I put this movie? This is either E or D tier for me, and it's not necessarily that I even hated this film. I'm tempted to put it in D. Let me just have a look at some of those other films that are in there. I mean, I would rather watch Brother Bear, Disney's Dinosaur Fantasia 2000 Rescuers. I'll leave it in there for now. It might drop to an E tier movie. It's not one that I particularly rush back to, but they are trying to do some stuff with the characters there and the sense of family. I thought the villain twist was quite interesting as well, and the almost Tomorrowland futuristic world is quite fun, but it does suffer with character bloat, and I think it does lose its focus certainly in the second act. But there is an emotional core to the film, I think, inherently, in the sense of legacy and trying to better humanity with your inventions, and you're here for a purpose kind of thing. There's some sweet things in the film, but it is pretty unmemorable to me. I think, I can't see myself ever watching Meet the Robinsons again, to be honest. Bolt. I'd probably, put it in the same category, in all honesty. I enjoyed Bolt a lot more than Meet the Robinsons. It's probably a little bit more traditional in that regard. And I think just the fact that I knew nothing about Bolt going into it as well was similar with Meet the Robinsons. I didn't know anything about that too. But I expected Bolt was going to be a very different movie than what it turned out. I didn't know they were going to go with the whole angle that he was an actor dog on a movie set. I didn't know. I thought he was just like this superhero dog with superpowers, which it plays with at the beginning where you're watching the actual film that he's shooting. I thought that was going to be the whole film. So it did throw me for a loop with that. And there are some sweet moments to the film. It's very standard though, as Disney movies go, I think. So yeah, D tier for that one too. Princess and the Frog. Oh, one of the last vestiges of traditional hand-drawn animation. This and Winnie the Pooh. That was it for Disney, and we still haven't had a traditionally animated film since then from the company, which breaks my damn heart. This does hit all the hallmarks of a classic Disney Renaissance movie. You've got the directors returning. You've got the absolutely astounding animation with wonderful colors to it. The music, Randy Newman, isn't it? I think did the music to this one. It's fine. There's some great ones in there. Dr. Facilier is a brilliant villain in the film. An incredible look to the character, but I just don't think was completely utilized. And I think that's my biggest issue with this film, is that I do really enjoy it, but there's just something about the plot that's a little bit lacking. I'm tempted to go B tier with Princess and the Frog. There's a lot I like about it, and I have watched it a number of times. I am almost tempted to put it in like the back end of A, but I just think the plot drags a little bit in the middle of the film. I don't think it quite comes together as a whole, but I do really, really enjoy it. So I'm going to go B tier, I think, on that one. I think that's an all right place for it. Tangled. Oh, wow. Tangled is going to go in. You know what? I'm going to put Tangled. Oh, it's tempting to put it in S tier. It really is tempted. But just looking at some of the other ones, I'm going to go A tier, I think, for Tangled. Certainly in terms of, I would class this as modern Disney. There's something about Tangled where I always sort of go, this is the beginning of the new era of Disney, where you have stuff like Frozen and Big Hero 6 and Wreck-It Ralph and whatnot. I always chalk it up to this one as being the first one. This is an incredible film. I love the music. Alan Menken again did the music to this one, and one of his best scores, I think. I remember watching Tangled for the first time and being kind of initially against it again, because I thought, well, this could translate so well into traditional hand-drawn animation. Why does everything have to be in CGI? But there were moments in this film where cinematically I thought, yeah, you probably couldn't do this justice in quite as well in traditional hand-drawn animation. It's the lantern ceremony. I see the lights. Absolutely breathtaking moment. Beautiful song. Just really fun characters. It really is. There are a lot of Shrek vibes to this film, I think, which I think were intentionally so. I think the filmmakers did mention that they wanted the aesthetic of this movie to be very similar to Shrek, and I think it is. It does have the same kind of humor to it as well, and it plays with a lot of the tropes, definitely. I love it. It is quite tempting to put this one into S tier. I'm going to leave it there for now because I'm just looking at stuff like Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules. I'm like, oh, would I put Tangled alongside those? Maybe not, but I do still love it. I love the villain as well. Mother Gothel's brilliant. Winnie the Pooh. Okay, so this is the the second Winnie the Pooh film on this list. This is the one that came out in 2011. This is exclusive to the US list, but it is actually made by Disney Animation Studios and currently is the last traditionally hand-drawn one. I think it tries to hit the heights and follow a lot of the similar tropes to the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, the fourth wall breaking moments and the integration with the text, but it is just criminally short, this film. I feel like the animation's taken a little bit of a dive. It looks a little bit cheaper compared to the original Winnie the Pooh movie. It doesn't seem as detailed or illustration-like in this one. It feels a lot more digital, a lot more clean, a lot more processed, maybe. And yeah, it's. I would have loved a few more stories in this one. It's similar to Fantasia 2000, I think, in that just as soon as you start getting into this film and relaxing into it, it just ends. It doesn't feel like a complete package of a film in many ways. So I think I'm going to put this in D tier. It's, as I say, it really reminds me of Fantasia 2000, where it's the sum of its parts. Like, it's good, it's fine, but it could have been better. It just needed to be more fleshed out. It just needed to be a bit longer, I think. Okay, then we get to Wreck-It Ralph. I don't love this film as much as other people do, although I did enjoy it a lot more on the rewatch that I did for the retrospective. The same can't be said for the sequel, unfortunately, which I think completely retcons the ending of this first movie. The video game setting it's because I'm an old man. I'm like, this feels very modern. Even when you go back to some of like the 80s console games in there, it feels very retro, but it still feels distinctly modern. And I like when Disney goes the more traditional route with its films a lot of times. Having stuff like Bowser and Zangief show up, like pop culture icons like that, is very strange. And again, I guess Robin Williams' Genie had a lot of pop culture moments into it too, but that kind of fit in with the style and zaniness of his character. But I did like Wreck-It Ralph overall. And I think I'm ignoring the sequel. The ending to this one's brilliant, where they both get locked into their games and they can't see each other ever again. But what he can do is, at the end of all of his shifts, he looks across the video game arcade and he can see how much players really appreciate her character and that she's winning and she's living the life she wants to live and loving it. And that's enough for him. And he was a hero that day, which they completely just ignore in the beginning of the sequel, which is why I fucking hate it. Wreck-It Ralph is going to go in... I'm tempted to put this in C tier, to be honest. It's I don't love this film as much as other people do. I would have loved to have seen a lot of different video game worlds. Once we get to Sugar Rush, we kind of just stay there, and the imagery gets a little bit stale after a while. I would have liked to have just jumped across a few more games and just really shake it up a bit. I like the lobby. I like that we have the very Donkey Kong-like game of Wreck-It Ralph. And then you have the lobby. You have the first-person shooter modern console stuff. And then you have Sugar Rush, which is like, like Candy Crush and a lot of the racing games. But then we just stay there. And it's like, it could have been cool to go to some other worlds, maybe, see some other places. Real quick, JDC says, in the Wild's first sequence, the animation looked a bit more stylized than the realistically stale animation in the rest of the movie. But do you think that should have been how the whole movie looked? It's interesting. Yeah, it gets very Uncanny Valley to me. The human, especially like the Indian pigeons, and it looks like they're all on an animation loop and they're all doing like the dancing, which was very strange. I honestly don't remember much about the opening of the film. I guess they were going for, I won't say less cartoony animals, because they are still very cartoony, but especially if you compare it to like the style of Madagascar, it seems like it's trying to find a comfortable medium between like a realistic depiction of the animal, but also still making it a cartoon character. I do remember that the animation across the board looked very inconsistent, and I can't remember if it was passed around to a bunch of different animation companies throughout. Maybe that's why there's some discrepancies there. But it is very reminiscent of Madagascar and Lion King in some aspects, and yeah, it's just not a good movie overall. It really isn't. Frozen. Oh, I'm going to come under so much heat. All the pun intended for this one. Because I can't fucking stand Frozen. Now, in terms of the identity of Frozen and the iconography of Frozen, it has completely cemented itself as certainly one of the most prominent examples of modern Disney. Of, I keep saying like Genie and Stitch and Beast, and characters that are just so profound and so easily identifiable in terms of the Disney canon. Frozen is undoubtedly cemented in that. This film made bank. This, at the time, completely outgrossed The Lion King. This became the highest grossing animated film for a long time. This just took the whole world by storm. And I think because I was quite late to the game with Frozen, I had all of this, the accolades in my mind of how it was lauded and how it's the greatest animated film of all time and it's wonderful and it's the best Disney film ever. And I watched it and I had so many problems with it. It's just, I would rather watch Frozen I would rather watch Tangled any day of the week. I think Tangled's a much better movie over Frozen, for example. I think Wreck-It Ralph's a much better movie than Frozen. It does have that princess dynamic to it, and, Let It Go just took the world by storm, didn't it, in terms of the music? But I actually think this film has, I got a lot of problems with Frozen. I think the biggest missed opportunity was not to just do this as a straight adaptation of the Snow Queen or the Ice Queen. Elsa in the original designs for this film and the original production was meant to be the villain, and I think it would have been a tremendously interesting take to do that, to have essentially a film where we start with Elsa and we see a villain origin story, how we will have pathos for the villain and we'll see her upbringing and where she came from and completely understand why she becomes the villain and exiled from the town, and then ultimately plunge the city into eternal winter and become a villain throughout the film and love it. Let It Go could have been a villain song. It could have been, this very poppy and bouncy song, and throughout the course of the song, she feels vulnerability with her powers, but then it's her glow up song. She comes into her own, but done with a villainous take. That would have been an amazing sort of subversive take on a Disney villain song, and I think could have worked really well and would have been a really interesting take on the character and the Snow Queen story. Unfortunately, we don't get that, and they settle for the lowest common denominator. And it's The Last Jedi is a terrible film, but I've seen a lot of people say that as well. How at the end of the film, where Kylo Ren says to Rey, "Join me," she should have joined him, because that would have been like, holy shit, where are we going to go in episode 9 now? This is going in a completely different direction. We're doing something new. This is great. And they didn't. They just cheaped out. And it's like, well, we need, good guy, bad guy kind of thing with that movie. And the whole movie just sort of hits the factory reset button at the end of the film again. This film, I feel, is subversive for its own sake, and I think it just gets a little bit irritating at some points, that it's intentionally playing with those tropes, and it wants you to know that it's playing with those tropes, and it's like, oh, look how different we are, and it's almost like it's embarrassed to be. It's almost like it throws shade at some of the earlier, more traditional Disney films, and it's like, hey, look, we're not going to do it like that now. We're going to do this, and oh my god, you're getting married to that guy, you've only been speaking to him for like a day, like, you can't do that, that's insane. And it's throwing a lot of those more traditional Disney tropes out the window. And it can be fun to do that sometimes, but I feel like it does it a few too many times. The whole villain switcheroo thing at the end as well makes no sense at all, and the whole plot just breaks down for me towards the end of this film, where Elsa's captured by Hans, and he's not a good Disney villain, because just having a character all the way through and then just in the final 5 minutes of the film switching it up and he's the villain. We do this a lot with a lot of the Disney villains from this point onwards. And I mean, we kind of do the same with that in Wreck-It Ralph in some respects too, how you don't just have a Disney villain right off the bat. You don't just have a villain who's evil for evil's sake and they're bad and they love it. It's, oh no, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. And then there's some kind of switcheroo at the end. And I'm so over that trope. And it's a shame, because I think Elsa could have been arguably one of the best Disney villains of all time had they have handled it that way, and I feel like they cheaped out on it. Ultimately, that's my rant on Frozen. Oh guys, I'm gonna put it in. I'm gonna put it in D tier. I genuinely can't stand Frozen. I'm sorry, and I know that people are like going to click off this tier list and be like, "What the actual fuck? Like, how is that not an S tier movie?" It's not an S tier movie. It's not an A tier movie. Looking at what I've put in B tier, I would rather watch any of these films in B tier and C tier any day of the week over Frozen. I'm sorry, guys. It's going in D tier, and there it's going to stay. Big Hero 6. So we move to the Marvel realm of things now, and again, it's I don't like how they're sort of adapting more modern IPs and stuff. Like the fact that this is technically a Marvel Comics product in like the Disney canon is weird to me. The design of Baymax is great. I love sort of like the inflatable design of Baymax, and he is really cute and he is really fun and he has his superhero moments, but it just doesn't feel like a Disney film to me. It feels more like a Pixar film. I think me and Dale both said that when we did our reviews to it. And there are some sweet moments. There's moments that are sort of reminiscent of Iron Giant and bits where the main character sacrifices themselves at the end. But I don't really like the ensemble cast of characters in this one. A better superhero animated film, in my opinion, is The Incredibles, which is a much better movie. Whereas this one, the superhero team, I don't really get behind it. The humor didn't really land for me. And I as much as I love the design of Baymax, there's just not a lot that brings me back to this. San Francisco is an interesting idea for the environment, though. I'm probably going to put this one in D tier as well. I think Big Hero 6. It's not awful. It's just not for me. I think that one. Zootopia. Okay, this is tempting to put this one in S tier, but I think because I put Tangled in A, I'm going to put Zootopia in A. I love this movie. In terms of modern Disney films, this is one of my favorites. I like the way that it does handle very adult themes, like there's prejudice, segregation, immigration, a whole bunch of things like that, law and order, and it's just I love the fact that it's set in this world where we've got these just anthropomorphic animals everywhere. There's no humans here. It is just a world created by these animals. The animation is astounding, especially on all the different districts. It's very varied. It's a very fun film, and it's a fun little mystery. I think the thing that lets it down again is another villain switcheroo at the very end of the film, which feels a bit tried and tested at this point. I love the Shakira song. I love the colors. I love the energy of this film. And I really hope that Zootopia 2 is good this year, which is going to be our next Disney classic in terms of the canon. But I love it. I love Zootopia. And I come back to it quite a lot. It's just a really fun movie. It handles its themes very well. And I love Judy Hopps as a character. Similar to Mulan. She's just really endearing and she works hard for what she wants to achieve. And that's we need more characters like that. It's really good. Moana. This is also going in A tier for me in terms of modern Disney. This is one of the best. The animation is gorgeous on the water. There's a moment in this film where I call it Disney chills, where it's just the animation so gorgeous with the music and the hairs on your arm just stand up on end. And it's the moment where Tekka starts chasing down Moana at the end and everything goes into slow motion. And it's like Moses, the water parts, and she makes her way face to face with Tekka. It's a wonderful moment, and I love how Tekka's like scrambling after her. Brilliant songs, wonderfully sung, and Maui as well. Using Dwayne the Rock Johnson, say what you want about him, maybe he's overused in too many films, but the character of Maui has so much personality. It's a really fun design to the character. I like the way that his tattoos are animated as well. It feels like a character that's very genie-like, just a completely larger than life character. And I love Moana. It's definitely one of my favorites in terms of modern depictions. Modern Disney films. Then we have Ralph Breaks the Internet. This is going, oh my lord. Yeah, no, this one was bad. There's some fun sight gags and stuff that they do with the internet, but I think it just immediately dates this film. You've got stuff that is immediately dated in there. You've got stuff like Twitter, which is now X, and a lot of these apps are just going to drop, because the internet's constantly evolving and gaming and whatnot. It's just a lot of this just feels quite old hat, even by today's standards, and this isn't really an old movie. But it just betrays the ending of the first movie, and I hate the fact that it completely vilifies Ralph at the end of this. Like, Ralph is the villain. His neediness, his clinginess, and I really don't see that as part of the character. He's just trying to protect Vanellope, and Vanellope just gets completely above her station, and just she's emotionally all over the place in this film. Doesn't seem to know what she wants. And Ralph is literally just being protective of her, and he's made to be the bad guy in this. It's just really hateful. It's a very watchable film. In terms of watchability, it's probably in D, but I'm going to put it in D tier, because I think it probably is better than Home on the Range and those other two movies, but it's a really mean-spirited movie, and I just really dislike it for that. I am tempted to put it in E tier just because of that, actually. But I'll leave it there for now, I think. No, you know what? Fuck it. Ralph Breaks the Internet can drop down to an E. I hate that movie. Frozen 2, I mean, if Frozen gets a D, Frozen 2's getting an E, because it is going to be a step down. I think the music gets a step up, though, in Frozen 2. I do prefer the soundtrack overall. I like Into the Unknown. I like All Is Found. There is some nice music to it. The animation's still great, but there's just really not much of a story in this one. You can see that they're just really... The first one was successful, so we've got to get a sequel out there, and there's not much of a story holding it together, I don't think. And God knows what they're going to do for Frozen 3. They're going to throw something out there, I suppose. It's a very... I just barely remember Frozen 2, to be honest. I hate how it splits up the characters. I think it would have been cool to see this dynamic with all the characters together. It goes into the history about Elsa's powers, which I actually can't remember if it contradicts the lore of the first movie in terms of her powers, but it just seemed really unnecessary, and it was just made because the first one made a shit ton of money. I think it does suffer from too many songs as well. There's too much bloat to the soundtrack, and yeah, I mean, the first one didn't do me any favors, so I was going into the second one where I didn't really particularly care for these characters. So yeah, I'm going to put that in E tier, I think. Raya and the Last Dragon. I like the unique environments, and I like culturally, I like where this is set. I think it's a very beautiful film. I like the little armadillo thing. Well, he's not little, is he? The huge armadillo thing that she rides around on is a really cute character. I like that, but this film isn't... There's moments, there's something there to the story, uniting everyone, all of these nations coming together as one people, one tribe. There's a nice story there, but the character of Raya's just a little bit bland for me, and you've got Awkwafina as Sisu, and she's just really aggravating and draining, and we move between all of these different districts, and it's cool when it does that. And maybe actually this is an advantage of Wreck-It Ralph. I did just badmouth Wreck-It Ralph, saying I would have liked to have seen more environments. But the issue with that is where you get granted with Raya and the Last Dragon, where we're constantly moving, building up this party of characters and jumping between all these different districts. And I don't feel like it really develops any single one of those districts. It's fine. Like, I'm tempted to put this just like in D tier, to be honest. It's like, it's very watchable. The soundtrack's nice. At the moment where all the dragons are dancing in the rain at the end and the water, it's beautiful. That is a beautiful moment of animation there. And the animation is very nice, but it's just a little bit just unremarkable there for me, I think. Raya and the Last Dragon. Oof. Okay, Encanto. This is going to be very controversial, just like Frozen. I can't stand Encanto. I really can't. I think the meaning... We all have different readings of the ending and of different films. It's all, film is completely subjective sometimes, and that's fine. I think this is a really hateful message at the end of this film. And I think it's that... What I can't even remember the name of the main character. Is quite selfish. And I know that the grandma is the matriarch of the family, and she's a little bit overbearing, but she does it in good faith. She does it to look after her family after all the traumatic things that she went through. And it just seems like, hey, well, I don't always want to use my powers to help people and for the obligation of other people. Like, I just want to go about things my own way. And, this matriarch that's raised this family and gone through hell and back to, keep this family alive and sustained and just ensure that they, they're all good and they're all settled down and they keep the family legacy going. And that because they have these powers, they have an obligation to the people, various charitable acts and whatnot. And they're complaining about that at the end. Like, nah, fuck the people of the town. Like, some days I just want a day to like chill by myself where I don't have to do anything. And who are you, grandma, to issue orders to me? It's like, have some respect for your elders. I don't know. Maybe I'm more traditional in that respect, but I actually can't stand the music in this film. is it Lin-Manuel Miranda? I know he did some of the music in Moana, and I really love the soundtrack to Moana, but I can't stand this film. Some nice animation in there. It feels more like a Pixar movie to me than a Disney animated feature. I'm not going to go as low as put this in F tier. I thought Bruno could have been a really interesting villain. Again, we have a great setup. Everyone's like, we don't talk about Bruno, and he's this mysterious character, and he's got all these magical powers, and the family fears him, and then we don't do anything with that. I'm going to put this in, probably going to put it in E tier, to be honest. I just really don't like this film. I think the music's all over the place. It just sounds way too contemporary in some regards. The song that the Butch sister sings, it's like, I move mountains, I do da da. It's like this rap song, and it just feels really out of place to the rest of the soundtrack. I hate it. I can't stand Encanto. I'm sorry, not sorry. It's going in E tier for me. Strange World. Yeah, this was there's definitely some things in there that were pushing in an agenda, but you know what? This film was really hated. It was a huge loss. It wasn't marketed particularly well, and I heard nothing but negative things about this movie. And when I watched it, I quite liked the whole journey to the center of the earth type feel to it. I liked that it had a pulpy quality to it, but I think the intro was definitely the best thing, where it was done in that pulpy magazine style. And it was like, was it Xander Cage? Is it Xander Cage? No, that's the character from Triple X. Who's the main character in this? Anyway, whatever it was. I liked that almost Indiana Jones feel to it initially. And this is in like the first opening minutes. And then it doesn't become that. The supporting cast isn't particularly interesting, the cast of characters. But I like the world to it. There are some creative things in there. But there's going to be really nothing that brings me back to this film. I've got to give Strange World E tier. I probably do prefer this film more than Encanto, in all honesty, but I'm probably going to go E tier with that one. Let's see. We've got two left. Oh, Wish. The absolute wasted potential of Wish. I mean, this marked the company's 100th year. And I actually quite like the animation in there. I've seen some people be quite negative, saying that the animation looks really cheap. I wouldn't say that. I think it just looks very different, and I like that it has that unique art style to it. It is computer animated, but it feels quite cel shaded in some respects, and you can see some aspects where it's trying to chase after the traditional animation style. I don't know. It felt more like digital art sometimes, this one, but I thought it was a unique art style to it. But the real tragedy of this film is the film that it could have been. When you read about the production of this and the initial ideas, and that it was going to be much more in the vein of the Disney Renaissance films and a lot more traditional, there's going to be a romance story in there. But, you know, modern day Disney, apparently we're not allowed a romance story in anything now because it's, I don't know, it diminishes someone's agency if they fall in love, I suppose. The music is all over the place in this one, and yeah, you know, the music to a lot of this film was repurposed into different things, and there were some ideas in there that could have really like blossomed, I think, if they'd gone with a more traditional style to it. But it's just that, yeah, this film was bad. I'm tempted to go F. God, is it as bad as The Wild or Chicken Little? It might just be. Yeah, the best bit for me was the end credits where they showed glimpses of all the previous Disney animated classics. I'm going to put it in F. I feel quite bad about that. Should I feel bad about that? No, fuck that. It's either going in E tier or that. But yeah, I think it's F tier. I think that was a huge swing and a miss with Wish, and it could have been something truly remarkable. Moana 2, I really disliked this movie, I think, from the review. This was originally meant to be a Disney Plus TV show, which they repurposed and reworked into a movie. It completely sequel baits, and we're probably going to get a Moana trilogy. The music is nowhere near as memorable as the first one. Maui's barely in the film as well. I was actually surprised by how little he's in this movie, and you can kind of tell where this was meant to be a TV show and it was reworked into a film. that probably didn't do the film any favors, because I think a lot of it was already done for the TV show, and I don't even know how many episodes it was meant to be, but probably short 20-minute episodes, maybe quite episodic, maybe 8 to 10 episodes of a TV show. Structurally, a TV show is very different from a film, so it does feel like we're racing through, and yeah, it shouldn't have had a sequel. It shouldn't have had a sequel. And if it was going to have a sequel, then a TV show would have been fine. But it made a shit ton of money. It was very successful. So we're probably going to get a third one. God. I'd probably put this on the same level as, E-tier, maybe. Okay, so that's the end of the tier list right there. I've got them all in place, but someone said I should just have one in S tier. And I don't know. Anyone watching, should I leave it as it is and have a few films in S tier, or do you think I should just have the one film in S tier and then everything below it? I guess what I could do now is just like actually rank them in all of these categories. So the back end of the category, sort of this side, is going to be the worst, and we're going to get steadily best. The Wild is going to go at the very end, then Chicken Little, then Wish. I think that covers the F category. E tier, what's going to go at the very back end of this thing? I guess, I've just got to put Saludos Amigos and Three Caballeros there. Not necessarily that they're awful, but they were made for a particular purpose, and they are very short, and it's, to rank them alongside these feature films, I think is a little bit unfair. Then I would probably say, oh God, Home on the Range. Oh, this is tough now. Probably Moana 2, yeah. Strange World. Wreck-It Ralph. No, fuck that. I'd say Wreck-It Ralph 2's the best. Oh, God. Yeah, I'm going to go that order, I think, for E tier. I really can't stand Encanto. Let's see what we've got next. This is the intro. Okay, D. Yeah, we've got a lot more films in this one, so let's see how I'd rank these. I'd move that one there. Oh God, then that's the question. Would I rather watch Bolt over Frozen? I actually think I would. Meet the Robinsons is being moved down a little bit. I think that's going to go. I think Meet the Robinsons is going to go there with Big Hero 6 at the end. Let's see what else. Winnie the Pooh is going to go. Oh, God. Could I put it after Frozen? I actually want to put that after Frozen. Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. I'd rather watch an hour with Winnie the Pooh than like 2 hours with Frozen or however long it is. Sue me. I don't care. I'm going to put Bolt there, I think. Let's see. Brother Bear, I think that's fine there. I'd probably put Disney's Dinosaur over Fantasia 2000. Oh, God. Then I would probably go... see, Ichabod and Mr. Toad's quite short, isn't it? Okay, sorry, I forgot I had these ones at the back end here. Let's move these down a bit, because I think these ones would probably be lower, in all fairness. I'd probably put it above that and that, actually. Let's see, Make Mine Music. Yeah, I'd put that just above Ichabod. Melody Time would be... God, this is tough. This is tough now, because Melody Time is sort of like whatever, but it is short. That's got to count for something. It is shorter. Let's see. Yeah, that's there. I'd probably say that. Yeah, that's probably there. And then Make Fun and Fancy Free. I'd put that above those two. Yeah. Let's leave that there, I think, for D tier. Some things could like chop and change, but I think that's more or less fair there. Everyone's going to hate me for Encanto and Frozen, and you know what? I don't care. Come at me. We got C tier. I think... That's a pretty fair C tier, actually. How I do that, yeah, that's probably how it would be. B tier. Let's reorder these a little bit. So I think that Princess and the Frog is better than Oliver and Company. I think Aristocats is just below Oliver and Company, and maybe 101 Dalmatians is probably better than those. No, actually, I'm going to put it below Princess and the Frog. Fox and the Hound's quite an astounding film, so I'm going to put that there. And Dumbo's just nice, isn't it? Which way do I put it? So tempted. I like the New Orleans setting, though. I do really like that New Orleans setting. That's tough. I could like interchange those. Yeah, let's keep that there. I think let's keep that there for now. I think that's fine. I just really like Dumbo. Right, okay, then the A tier one's going to be tough because we've got a lot of movies to contend with here. Bath Time's back. He says, "Oh my God, still going. Can I see an S tier, please?" Mulan is absolutely an S tier. Okay, Bath Time, you're going to be the decider here, I think. Do you want me to have one film in S tier and everything else in A? So, like, one takes the absolute tippy top spot? Or are you happy with multiple films being in the S tier? You be the decider, my friend. Robin Hood American Football. It's fine. It's fine. It's good. I love Robin Hood. Robin Hood's going to be really high up. You're going to fucking hate this list, Bath Time. You're really going to hate it because Robin Hood is going to be up there. Let me know what you think about the S tier thing. One film in S tier ordered in A tier by preference. Okay, good. I can do that. Right. So a lot of these films from S tier then will be moving down a tier. They're all S tiers in my eyes, these ones, but there is one that is king of them all, which is probably going to be unsurprising as to which one that is. Right, let's try and rank these A tier ones. So actually, let's start by... Oh, that will give away what S tier is. But I am going to have to bring these down. You know what? It's not a surprise to anyone. To me, S tier is Beauty and the Beast, hands down. So I tell you what, let's move all of these other films down into A tier now, because this is going to be the lengthy category to try and reorder. Beauty and the Beast absolutely takes the top spot. It's very, very close for me with Hunchback of Notre Dame, just because I like the subject matter and I think it's wonderfully handled. The music, the scope of it, how cinematic it is and emotional, and the complexity to the characters. I think the thing that lets it down, though, is the tonal inconsistency with it. I think if you had removed the gargoyles, or if you had had the gargoyles maybe be an offshoot of Quasimodo's personality, which is what it seems like they are at the beginning of the film, I think that maybe could have taken the top spot just because of how important Beauty and the Beast is to the Disney Renaissance, how traditional it is. It's just a film that's firing on all cylinders. It is a perfect movie. I cannot find a single fault in Beauty and the Beast. And for that reason and that reason alone, that gets the instant S tier. Right, let's try and reorder some of these then now. So I'm going to do these in order of preference because I'm looking at Snow White and I'm still thinking that Snow White deserves to be at the tippy top of A tier, but I do prefer watching a lot of these other films over Snow White. So Snow White probably will fall down the list a bit. Nonetheless, if we go in with its significance and importance, it's right up there in S tier. Right then, let's see what is the worst of the bunch here. I'm just going to do this kind of instinctively to begin. Oh God, I love this. Is going to be the tough category. I'm going kind of instinctive with this one. Let's just sort of like put these at the back end, maybe. As sort of Winnie the Pooh. I'm not ordering these. I'm just sort of moving these down a little bit based on everything else. Maybe Sleeping Beauty there. Let's see. Right. Okay. Cinderella can come down a little bit as well. Possibly Fantasia as well. I know everyone's going to like hate me for that, but it's just in terms of rewatchability for me. Right. Okay. Let's rank these then. So worst to best. I absolutely adore Black Cauldron. Oh, oh man, I can't. This is the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. I'm going to move Fantasia down, although over... Oh, God, I'm so indecisive. This is horrendous. Like, guys, you need to feel my pain with this because I'm literally staring down at all of my favorite films as a kid. Maybe it'll probably be easier if I work from best to worst in this category. Okay, so Hunchback of Notre Dame's going there for me. That's just shy of S tier. Then we're gonna go. I'm feeling Aladdin. I really am. Let's get Aladdin there. Then Hercules. I'm feeling Mulan. I'm feeling Lion King. Oh, this is so tough, guys. You have no idea. You have no idea. Treasure Planet, maybe. Okay, I'm pretty happy with those first 5, I think, up to Treasure Planet. Let's see. I feel like Tarzan. Yeah, these are going to stay down the list a bit. I would rather. No, I can't put it above Snow White. I can't. Or Pinocchio, maybe. I'm going to put Rescuers Down Under there. Jungle Book, I'd probably put over Alice in Wonderland. Robin Hood, I'd actually put over both of those. Oh, God, I can already hear Bath Time just cussing me out for that, but I don't care. This is like one of the hardest. Then you got Little Mermaid, though, and that's so important because that set you up for the Disney Renaissance, and it is just... That's better than Pinocchio for me. And in all honesty, I probably would put it above Snow White just because I absolutely love the soundtrack and it's paving the way for the Disney Renaissance, but it's just Snow White is so... You know what? Screw it. I'm going by favorites. I probably would rather watch it. I would rather watch that than Snow White. Let's see. We're going to go... Emperor's New Groove is better than Pocahontas and Tarzan. I do love the soundtrack to Pocahontas, though. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Lilo and Stitch is better than Tarzan. Yeah, I'm going to put that there, I think. Tangled, I prefer to all of them. Next to Alice in Wonderland, maybe? Yeah. I think we're going to move Pinocchio down a little. We're going to move Pinocchio there, I think. There. Yeah, we're going to go there, I think. Zootopia is pretty high up, though. It's better than Pocahontas. This was always going to be the most trickiest. This was going to be the trickiest category, like hands down, like no question. It's better than Pocahontas. I'm probably going to put that there. Lilo and Stitch, I feel like has a lot of heart to it, probably more so than Emperor's New Groove. So we're going to move that there. Moana is. I'm going to put. Yeah, I'm going to keep that there just before Tarzan, I think. Peter Pan. Sleeping Beauty is better than that, and that, and that. So let's move that across to there, I think. Peter Pan can probably go somewhere. Yeah, there, I think, maybe. Cinderella, yeah. Basil the Great Mouse Detective is better than them and more enjoyable than that, so I'm going to put that there. Fantasia is probably going to be the bottom of the stack in terms of A tier. It's a phenomenally animated movie, but it's just in terms of which ones I come back to, I suppose. Winnie the Pooh's so goddamn charming, and I do prefer it to Peter Pan. It's probably above there, isn't it? I guess. Better than Zootopia, better than Basil the Great Mouse Detective, Sleeping Beauty. Yeah, I'm just because it's just so nice and so wholesome. I'm going to put that there, I think. And then Black Cauldron. Let's see where we're going to put Black Cauldron. It's around this area for me. It just doesn't come together quite as much of a film for me. I think I'm going to put it there actually before Zootopia. In between Pocahontas. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. These are all phenomenal movies in my regard, and they're all good for different reasons. Like Winnie the Pooh's just really wholesome. The character designs and everything, it's just really nice. but like I probably would rather watch like Pocahontas rather than Winnie the Pooh if I was going to chuck on a Disney film for an afternoon. But I'm pretty happy with that there. Let's lock that in then. I think just giving it a scan real quick. Definitely these ones here, up to Treasure Planet. I'm happy with. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm happy to lock that in. Let's. Oh no, I'm going to move this one down. I'm going to move that one down. There we go. Pinocchio. Pinocchio's going to go there. Yeah. Okay. Right. I'm locking that in. That's my final tier for right now. This could change any day of the week. So the worst of the worst, the bottom of the F category is The Wild. I think that was going to be unsurprising. It's not even a Disney animated classic. So if we're talking about strict Disney animation studios, the worst of the worst for me is Chicken Little. That is bottom of the pile, and quite rightly so. It deserves to be there. And my S tier is Beauty and the Beast. I'd be very interested, though, to hear your guys' tiers. This tier list, I think you can just access. I think it's on the site. I added The Wild into it, though. That wasn't on the current list. But let me know your Disney tier list. Where would you rank all of these? Or definitely let me know which one you'd put at the bottom and which one would be your S tier movie. Bath Time, did you tell me what your S tier movie was? So you said Snow White in third top spot. Sounds correct to me. What would your S tier be if you could pick one? Now that you can just see all the movies there. Bath Time says, "You gonna brave this and send it to Dale?" Yes, I will. I think I can. Yep, save and download option right there. I'm going to get on that now and save it so I've got the actual image, and I think that saves to my account at the top, which will be cool. And that's locked in. So I'll send that to Dale. Aladdin. Oh, great choice. Great choice. Yeah. It's high up for me, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, it's number 3. It's certainly up there. I feel like it was a proper lads Disney film as well, like that and Hercules. It's probably because it's, more action, swashbuckly kind of feel to it. Yeah, right. I'm going to round this off here because I didn't intend this to go on for 2 hours 20. Oh boy, yeah. This is probably a good thing that me and Dale didn't do a joint list on one video, because this would have been an exceptionally long video. This would have been 4 hours plus. I need to get to some practice tonight anyway, but this has been fun. If you guys want to see more tier lists, I mean, there's the topics are inexhaustible, aren't they, that we can do really. We've got Dale's list for the Disney films that we need to do as well, and I'm sure we can probably do a tier list for the next retrospective that we're going to be doing. Hopefully we can get Dale's list next week. I think this would be really fun to do and just keep the ball rolling with these Disney films. I know he said he wants a bit of a break, but if he comes back next week, I think this will be really fun to do with Dale and get his opinion on all these movies. And it would probably be a lot shorter than my one. Dale's a lot more concise when it comes to talking about things than I am. I tend to be a bit more verbose and just over the top and do a 2 hour 20 stream when there's probably no need to take this on for longer than an hour. But yeah, I can talk. Bath Time says, can you try a Star Wars one with the TV shows, etc. with JX? I could do that. I haven't seen all the TV shows, though, so it depends. I mean, with Star Wars TV shows, you've got stuff like Tales of the Jedi, like the animated stuff, Clone Wars, Rebels, and I ain't watching all of that to prepare for a tier list. I'm not doing it. I'm not putting myself through that pain. I could do the Star Wars movies, though, definitely. That could be one to do at some point. Right, I'm going to round off here, but this has been fun to do. So if you enjoyed this tier list, do let me know, and please do consider subscribing to the channel for more movie reviews, discussions, and live streams, and maybe possibly even tier lists as well along the way. It'll all be cool to do. What is coming up on the channel then? So I'll be live later this week with JX for our review. We're continuing our Superman reviews. We'll be talking about Superman 2 this upcoming weekend, which I'm really looking forward to watching. It's right here. It's all good to go. So I'm probably going to take, I don't know, because I need to get 2 cuts of this watch, probably Wednesday night. I'm going to go through that one, which will be really fun. And I do need to get myself to the cinema at some point to watch the new Karate Kid movie. I haven't forgotten. I am currently without a car. I am having car issues, car problems. My car needs to go into the hospital and get fixed on Wednesday, which hopefully it can, and hopefully won't be too expensive. Once I have my car again, I'll be able to get to the cinema, and we're getting into summer movie season, and we've got some of these big ones coming out. As I mentioned, we've got next week, which we can hopefully get Dale's tier list, and after that, we're moving into another big animation retrospective, which I'm not going to announce right now. it probably is one that can stand toe-to-toe with Disney in some respects, and it is the anniversary of that company. We've timed it just right. So and it boasts a whole bunch of films that I haven't seen before. So a lot of them will be first time viewings for both myself and Dale. So I'm looking forward to talking about that. I will not divulge what it is right now. I'm going to keep you guys guessing for one more week, and we'll announce it at the end of next week's video. Until then, thank you for everyone that tuned in and kept the conversation going. It's fun to talk about Disney movies again, and I will catch you on the next video. Take care, everyone.